Chapter 2239. When was she going to find Wu Lingyu? She hadn't seen him for 2 years. She wanted to find Wu Lingyu as soon as possible. Previously she wanted to avenge little Meng. Later she found out about the situation in Yuliang City. Now that Yuliang City had been taken down, she naturally wanted to find him. I originally planned to set up the array and go over. She meant that if he wasn't here she might have already set off. I'll have someone send you over, Hong Yuan said. Sima Yue was a little surprised. She thought that he came to her for some other reason. She didn't expect that it was to send her over. No need, I can go over by myself. She wanted to go over with a small throne. It wouldn't be good if there were people around. Hong Yuan didn't know what she was thinking, but he said straightforwardly, "You can't see him without me without alerting the king." Wu Lingyu was now the king. There were layers of guards around him. If she wanted to go to his side smoothly, it would be a little difficult. But you won't stay here? You can leave this place to Huajing and Jizhe. Hong Yuan was a priest, not a city lord. Now that this place was stable, there was no need for him. Instead, he would send more people to guard this place when he went back. Since he said so, she could only stay with him and protect his safety. After all, he was still a very important person to Wu Lingyu. Ba Jiazi and Huajing went back together. It wasn't that they wanted to, but the 2 clan leaders wanted them to go back and be punished. Ba Jiazi wasn't afraid at all. She wouldn't be punished if she followed Sima Yue. Half a month later, Sima Yue followed Hong Yuan to Wu Lingyu's headquarters, the capital city. Standing outside the huge and magnificent palace, Sima Yue really felt that Wu Lingyu was the king of this world. Hong Yuan took her all the way to the main hall. When the guards in the palace saw Hong Yuan, they all bowed respectfully. Everyone was curious about the identity of the woman he brought back. In the main hall, Wu Lingyu was discussing the current situation with someone. Suddenly, his eyes lit up and the corners of his mouth rose into a smile. Without saying anything, he disappeared from where he was, giving everyone in the main hall a fright. Sima Yue also sensed him. Seeing him suddenly appear in front of her, she gave him a big smile and said, "Lingyu, I'm here." Wu Lingyu didn't expect her to really come. He stepped forward and hugged her in his arms. "Didn't I tell you not to come? Why aren't you obedient?" Sima Yue hugged him back and rubbed against his chest. "I missed you so I came." In the past he was always the one looking for her. Now she was also looking for him. The people who followed him out were shocked to the extreme when they saw this scene. However, they all knew about the existence of Sima Yue. After all, Wu Lingyu was willing to give up his body to go to the ghost realm to find her. It was hard not to know about her. Other than her, there was no one else who could make Wu Lingyu act like this. That woman actually came to the demon realm to find their king. For a moment, everyone's thoughts turned 1,000 times. They really didn't want to admit that the princess consort was a human woman. Previously, when she was in the human realm, they could still pretend that they didn't know. Now that she was here, they couldn't think of how to face her. Wu Lingyu let go of her and held her hand instead. They walked towards the main hall and asked, "Why did you come with Hong Yuan?" "I came from Yuliang City," Sima Yue said. Wu Lingyu immediately understood what she meant and smiled. "I was just wondering how Lunar City, which we couldn't take down for so long, could be taken down so easily. However, you should have told me earlier." "If I had told you, would you still be waiting for me here? The moment I arrived, I heard that Mo Lu sent millions of troops to attack you." Sima Yue understood him, which was why she hid it from him until now. "Besides, I went to Yuliang City to avenge little Meng." The group of generals and clan leaders followed them back to the main hall. When they saw him bring her to sit on the throne, they restrained themselves and didn't say no. Hong Yuan sat down and said, "King, although Yuliang City has been taken down, we still need to send more people over. Mo Lu definitely won't let it go and will send more people to take it back." "We're discussing this matter and thinking of who to send," Wu Lingyu said. Now was the time of war. Everyone wanted to fight and not defend the city. They discussed for a while and decided on who to send to Yuliang City. The general accepted the order and went to make the arrangements. Sima Yue sat quietly beside him and didn't interrupt. She actually knew a little about these people. Wu Lingyu had mentioned them when they were chatting, but she didn't have any intention of interfering. "High Priest, the news you sent back previously only said that Yuliang City was taken down. How did you do it?" Finally, someone asked. Hong Yuan glanced at the person who asked. It was one of the 3 female generals, the clan leader of the Demon Fox clan, Leng Yun. Seeing the unwillingness in her eyes, he knew what she was thinking. "We didn't take down Yuliang City. All the credit belongs to the princess consort," he said faintly. You're saying that the princess consort took down Yuliang City alone? How is that possible? Leng Yun didn't believe it and didn't hide her thoughts. Wu Lingyu wanted to say something but was pulled back by Sima Yuyue. Sima Yuyue shook her head at him, indicating for him not to say anything. Why is it impossible? Hong Yuan asked. We all know how difficult it is to take down Yuliang City. How could she do it alone? Leng Yun's words were full of disdain for Sima Yuyue. Actually, she wasn't the only one who thought so. The others probably thought so too. It was just that they didn't say it out loud. Oh, you didn't see it with your own eyes. How can you be so sure? The princess consort is a human. It's hard for her to even protect herself in the demon world, let alone take down Yuliang City. Do you know who killed Lang Ye? Could it be the princess consort? Leng Yun didn't believe what she said. Do you know why we were able to take down Yuliang City at such a small price? If we knew, we wouldn't be asking you. The person who killed Lang Ye was the princess consort's contracted beast. Hong Yuan said, and the reason why we were able to take down Yuliang City so easily was because the princess consort poisoned their generals. It was also because the princess consort destroyed Yuliang City's defense array that we were able to enter the city. The princess consort poisoned those people? How is that possible? There's no poison in this world that can poison them. You can't, but that doesn't mean others can't. Hong Yuan glanced at her. Jealous women were really ugly. In comparison, the little girl that he used to look down on was really pleasing to the eye now. Leng Yun wanted to say something but was pulled back by the people beside her. Others might not believe what they said, but this was the high priest, who dared to not believe his words. Chapter 2240. After waiting for those people to leave, Wu Lingyu brought her to his palace. On the way, his face was dark and unhappy. When they arrived at his palace, Sima Yuyue hugged his waist and snuggled into his arms. She comforted him. All right, don't be angry. Why didn't you let me speak just now? Wu Lingyu saw her obedient look and his voice was a little hoarse. However, he tried his best to look unhappy. I know you want to protect me, but she's your general after all. They're working for you and you're reprimanding them. Although you're protecting me, it's inevitable that your subordinates will feel uncomfortable. Sima Yuyu's finger lightly poked his chest. It was clearly separated by clothes, but it made his heart itch unbearably. My woman, if I don't even have the ability to protect you, I know. Do you think I don't know what you're thinking? Sima Yuyue interrupted him. It's just that you still need to use them. It'll save you as much trouble as possible. Moreover, I don't care about that female general. I care about how the others feel. It was fine if a general was gone. However, if he scolded her, the other generals would definitely have thoughts. Compared to the princess consort who suddenly came from the human world, the former would naturally have a higher status in their hearts. Moreover, even if you scolded them, they still won't accept me. I'm not weak. You don't have to worry about these things. I'll handle it myself. Sima Yuyue didn't want him to worry about this. Before she came, she already knew that he was under a lot of pressure. When she saw him, she knew that he hadn't rested for a long time. Her heart ached. She didn't want him to worry about these small things. How long has it been since you rested? She pressed him on the bed. When he pulled, she threw herself on top of him. I didn't count. About a few months. A certain someone's hand started to move. So long. Sima Yuyue slapped his hand away. She took out a pill and stuffed it into his mouth. Take a nap first. No matter how difficult the situation is now, you can sleep for a while. Don't worry. Even if I haven't rested, I still have energy. Who told you this? Absence makes the heart grow fonder, not to mention that they had been separated for 2 years. This desire burned fiercely for the entire night. It wasn't until the next morning that he finally fell asleep with her in his arms. Sima Yuyue nestled in his arms and looked at his dark eye circles. She could not help but reach out to touch them. This guy kept saying that the demon realm was fine and that he didn't need to worry about him, but he made himself so tired. She sighed in her heart, found a comfortable position in his arms and slept with him. Wu Lingyu was fast asleep, but when she moved, he unconsciously hugged her tighter and kissed her gently on the head. After Sima Yuyue arrived, Wu Lingyu did not appear for an entire day. This caused the generals below to have some complaints. Doesn't this Wang Fei know how difficult the situation is now? He actually did such a thing. The angry generals did not dare to go to the king, so they had to go to Priest de Ren. They knew that Priest de Ren could not stand these things the most. Hong Yuan just glanced at them indifferently. Do you know how long the king has not rested? The generals were stunned. The last time the king rested was a year and a month ago. Hong Yuan did not wait for their answer. You have been persuading the king to rest. Now that he is resting, why are you making such a fuss? The generals' faces turned red from Hong Yuan's words. They only thought that the king had rested for so long because of that human, but they did not expect that the king was already very tired. At this time, Sima Yue came over. She was the one who set up the enchantment, so she knew when they came. I know that you don't accept me. You think that I am a human and not enough to stand by Ling Yu's side. Sima Yue said, now I will give you this opportunity. Whoever wins against me, I will return to the human realm and not stay here to be an eyesore. Hong Yuan raised his eyebrows. This woman would actually do such a thing? Good. Remember what you said. Naturally. However, what I said doesn't matter what method is used. So, if I use other methods, you have to accept it. You can do that. Why not? Sima Yue retorted, no matter if I use a divine weapon or poison or a ray, as long as I defeat you, it is my strength. Don't tell me that using poison to take down Yuliang City is not really taking down Yuliang City? The generals were rendered speechless by her words. She was right. Did it not count? Of course not. Then let me experience the princess consort's strength. Leng Yun stood out first. If I hurt the princess consort later, please forgive me. Sima Yue hid her strength. They did not know how strong she was. However, they all knew that she was very young. She was only a little over 200 years old. Her strength was definitely not strong. If she wanted to use other methods, they would let her use them. Otherwise, she would say that they bullied her. Sima Yue nodded, come. The two of them flew into the air. Hong Yuan activated the palace's defensive array to prevent it from being affected by the battle. You are the princess consort and young. I will let you have 2 moves first, Ling Yun said. There is no need. Sima Yue displayed her strength. Her high paragon strength blinded their eyes. How is this possible? The princess consort was actually a high paragon. She was only 200 years old. She was actually stronger than them who were 2,000 years old. Leng Yun did not expect Sima Yue's strength to be so high. However, she was also a paragon. As long as she used her methods, it was not impossible for her to compete with her. To have such strength at such a young age, she must have only cared about cultivation. This kind of person only had strength but no battle power. Very quickly their thoughts were slapped in the face. Sima Yue did not have any battle power. Her battle power was even stronger than them who had been in the battlefield for many years. If not for the fact that Leng Yun was Wu Lingyu's subordinate, she would not have been able to last 2 minutes. Pa! A bolt of lightning struck not far from Leng Yun. It directly blasted a hole in the ground. Even after the smoke and dust dissipated, they could still feel the residual power in the air. Leng Yun was already injured by her. If this bolt of lightning struck her, everyone could not help but shiver. Sima Yue flew down. She did not look like she was in a sorry state after the battle. It was as if she had just flown in a circle. I said that you can use any method. However, General Leng did not seem to understand what I meant. It turned out that she was talking about using any method. It was funny that they thought she was acting shamelessly in order to stay. Thinking of this, they could not help but blush. Chapter 2241. Leng Yun was defeated, completely defeated. Sima Yue's strength caused waves in everyone's hearts. No one dared to treat her with the same attitude as before. Ba Jiazi and Hua Xiu were attracted by the commotion and looked at her in confusion. Why were they fighting? Wu Lingyu had already woken up. After Sima Yue was done, he came to her side. He did not say a word, but the generals and guards present could not breathe. Only this once. He left behind a murderous sentence and held Sima Yue's hand as he left. Hong Yuan thought of the time when Wu Lingyu's soul fused with hers. He was willing to risk the failure of the soul fusion to break the contract so that she would not be hurt. This time he did not punish them for the battle with Sima Yue because of their past friendship. He did not expect that Sima Yue's strength would increase so quickly. She was still so weak in the human world. In just 100 years she had grown so much. Seeing that the generals were still in a daze, he decided to help them for the sake of the big picture. Hua Xiu, tell them about Princess Consort's strength. He instructed. The Chinese had always been on good terms with Sima Yue, so they knew the most about her. When everyone else was fighting against Sima Yue, they collected a lot of information about her in the human world. Hua Xiu had already asked the guards about the cause and effect, so when Hong Yuan asked, he understood that Hong Yuan did not want him to talk about Sima Yue's cultivation level. He wanted to talk about other things about her. Princess Consort is an alchemist, a poison master, an array master, a seeker spirit master, a beast tamer, a doctor, and even a weapon refiner. Huaxiao did not hold back. She is proficient in every single one of them. Don't forget that she was the one who poisoned those people in Yuliang City. She was also the one who destroyed and repaired the defensive array of Yuliang City. Hiss. She was proficient in every single one of them? Huaxiao felt that this was not enough and continued, do you know how she destroyed the array? It was very simple. First, she let General Ji's men pretend to attack the city, tricking Langya into opening the defense array. Then she would experience it on the streets of the city. In less than an hour, she understood the array pattern of the array and figured out the location of each array stone. Tell me, who among you is as powerful as the Princess Consort? That's right. The Princess Consort is so powerful, but she treats us very well. She's always been approachable and low-key. If you guys hadn't gone too far, she wouldn't have done such a high-profile thing. Ba Jiazi echoed. The generals were rendered speechless by the two of them. Sima Yue followed Wu Lingyu back to the palace. Seeing her smiling eyes, Sima Yue used her other hand to poke Sima Yue's nose and said, naughty. You know that I'm not a person who would suffer losses. Why would I wrong myself? Sima Yue smiled and said, now that the problem has been solved, you don't have to worry about me anymore. I've never been worried about you, Wu Lingyu said. Lingyu, why didn't you ask me about the children? Now that she had some free time, Sima Yue remembered that Wu Lingyu had never asked her why the children were not by her side. I know they're in the netherworld, Wu Lingyu said. Seeing Sima Yue's surprise, he hugged her and said, previously, I missed the children and wanted to know their situation, so I sent people to the human world to take a look. Then, I found out that they were not in the human world. Some time ago, I even took the time to go to the netherworld to see the two of them. You actually went to see them? Did the netherworld agree? Sima Yue looked at him in shock. When she saw him nod, her tears fell. She grabbed the lapel of his chest with both hands. How is it, Little Knife and Yao Yao, are they doing well? Wu Lingyu reached out to wipe her tears and said softly, they're doing very well. They're very obedient and sensible. The reason why he did not mention this to her was because he knew that she would definitely cry. Now that he saw it, it was indeed so. The netherworld is so annoying. He didn't let me go but let you go. Sima Yue was jealous that he could go to see the children. If you go you'll be sad. He comforted her. Xiao Dao and the others can already recognize people. The netherworld said that they have to look at your image every day before they're willing to sleep. Compared to them, I, as their father, am at the back. They didn't say anything about missing me. When I went, the two little fellows ignored me. Seeing his aggrieved look, Sima Yue laughed. She rubbed her face against his clothes and left her tears on his clothes, taking small revenge on him. I miss our little babies so much. I miss them too. Wu Lingyu had never thought that he would have children one day, let alone that a small ball would affect his heart so much. I'll definitely settle the score with the netherworld later. He didn't let me go. Sima Yue sniffed. How's Xiao Dao now? Is she injured? She's fine. Her reaction is very fast. Wu Lingyu's heart ached when he thought of his daughter's appearance. However, he couldn't tell her this. Otherwise, she wouldn't be able to take it. What about Xiao Yaoyao? He's better than Xiao Dao. He knows how to take care of Xiao Dao now. When can I go and see them? The netherworld said that when they're older and the molding process is over, he'll bring them back. The premise is that we have to solve all these troublesome matters first. Then let's deal with Mo Lu. Sima Yue now had a deep grudge against Mo Lu. If he hadn't hindered Wu Lingyu and caused so many problems for him, they would have been able to see their children. Previously, she only had the idea of accompanying Wu Lingyu, thinking that it would be good to deploy according to his rhythm. Now her mentality had changed. She wanted to participate and help him solve this matter quickly. The sooner he solved it, the sooner he could see his babies. If Mo Lu knew that she had such a strong enemy because of this, he would probably be so depressed that he would vomit blood. They must have something to discuss with you since they're here to look for you. I have to go back and prepare something. Wu Lingyu saw that she was acting mysteriously and didn't let her return to his bedroom. Instead, he asked her to go to the side hall to prepare and listen to the current situation. Sima Yue thought about it and nodded in agreement. She went to the side hall and asked someone to bring a table and chair over. Then she lowered her head and started writing. When the generals came in and saw her writing in the side hall, no one had any objections. General Leng has already asked someone to take her away for treatment, Balangqi said. Let her have a good rest. There's no need for her to come if there's nothing urgent. Let General Ba take over her work, Wu Lingyu said. The subordinates knew that he was standing up for Sima Yue. She was the one who disrespected Sima Yue and even dared to fight with her. Although he didn't say anything previously, it didn't mean that he really didn't care. Chapter 2242. If it was before, Wu Lingyu would have defended Sima Yue and reprimanded the generals, they would have been angry. Now that he had dealt with Leng Yun, they did not have any other thoughts. After that, they reported the latest news on the battlefield and discussed some more about it. When they were done, Sima Yue came out from the side hall. She sat on Wu Lingyu's throne and handed the paper in her hand to him. I wrote these just now, take a look and see if they are useful. Wu Lingyu looked through them and his eyes lit up. Then he gave the papers to the people below. Ba Langqi and the others took a few each and exchanged them. The more they read, the more excited they became. Although not all of these military strategies are useful, some of them are not bad. Hua Di said excitedly, especially with the little tricks below, the effect will be better. That's right. Princess, how did you think of these? I've seen them before. Sima Yue replied. In this fantasy world, not all of the 36 stratagems would be useful, but since it was war, there would be some that would be useful. Her following little tricks were mainly to use poison, formations and the like. She had done many of these before, but she used them to deal with a small group of people. Now she was using them to deal with a large army. It's not that we haven't considered these methods before, but there are very few poison masters in the demon world and their levels are not high, so we can only use brute force. Now that we have Princess Poison, this method can be used. Sima Yue shook her head. The poison I used last time is very difficult to refine, so it can't be used in large quantities. So we have to be careful when using this poison. Use powerful poison for high-level ones and normal poison for normal demon soldiers. Emolu also caught a few poison masters from the human world, but because they don't have dark spiritual energy, they didn't develop any useful poison. Even though Hong Yuan was no longer at Emolu's side, he knew the situation there like the back of his hand. In terms of professional poison masters, the human clan had more advantages than the ghost clan and the devil clan. It was expected that Emolu would go to the human realm to catch poison masters. Well, it was also expected that it would not work. Sima Yue continued the meeting that had already ended because of the military strategy that she presented. Unlike the previous time, Sima Yue did not only listen but also occasionally expressed her own opinions. Although she didn't say much, she would always talk about the key points every time. It was impossible to tell that she didn't know anything about the situation in the demon world a few days ago. After the meeting, she once again plunged into the spirit pagoda and began to refine poisons day and night. She didn't even have time to accompany Wu Lingyu, which made Wu Lingyu very depressed. It was fine that she wasn't in the demon realm before, but she was too far away. Now that she was in the devil realm, she was right beside him, but they didn't have time to be together. Seeing her like that, he couldn't harden his heart to reprimand her, so he could only direct his anger to Emolu. Therefore they dealt with the other side even more ruthlessly. During the daily meetings, when the people below saw his gloomy face and heard his orders, they felt that he was dissatisfied. However, recently the front line had been on a winning streak. With Sima Yue's poisons and the battle plans that she had devised, they had almost never lost a battle. Emolu's morale plummeted. The millions of soldiers no longer had the same morale as before. Now they didn't even dare to take the initiative to attack. When they thought about how this was all brought about by Sima Yue, they rejoiced in their hearts. Fortunately, they didn't really chase her away back then. Otherwise, they wouldn't be in such a good situation now. Hong Yuan thought of Yuliang City. Previously, Yuliang City was very important in his divination, so both sides spent a lot of effort on it. However, after taking it down, it didn't seem important anymore. Now, he understood that Yuliang City wasn't the most important thing. Yuliang City was the key to their victory not because of itself, but because of her appearance there. Emolu's people were very sullen now. The situation was clearly good before, and the rebel army was forced to retreat. However, after Yuliang City was lost, the situation on both sides had completely changed. The people around Emolu didn't dare to speak loudly recently, afraid that they would be noticed by the Demon King and be used as a punching bag. They could carefully avoid it, but some people couldn't. The people kneeling on the ground were pale and sweating profusely. Emolu's pressure made them tremble uncontrollably, and they were about to collapse. On the throne, Emolu's thin body exuded a cold aura. His long and narrow eyes had a ruthless look. His body was clearly very small, but no one dared to underestimate him. You said that the rebel army took down 10 cities recently? Mo Lu's slightly homophonic voice rang out in the silent hall. The people kneeling on the ground immediately collapsed, unable to say a word. Mo Lu waved his hand, and the two people on the ground were squashed into a pool of blood. He stared at the people standing on both sides and said faintly, "Our situation was good before. Why did it become like this after I went into seclusion? Can any of you give me an explanation?" "King, we have already investigated clearly. The rebel army suddenly became so powerful because of one person. Although they were afraid, someone had to stand out. Because of one person? Are you trying to say that our loss is because there is one more person?" Mo Lu's voice suddenly rose. He was very dissatisfied with their behavior of pushing the blame to one person. The people below all knelt down and hurriedly explained, "King, the rebel army's change is really because of one person. We have already investigated clearly. This person is the woman of the rebel army's leader, Wu Lingyu. She is a very powerful person in the human world." The person hurriedly told Mo Lu about Sima Yue's situation, afraid that Mo Lu would interrupt and punish him. After hearing the person's words, Mo Lu waved his hand and said, "Wu Lingyu's woman? And a human? Do you want me to teach you how to deal with such a person?" The person was thrown to the ground, but he didn't dare to cry out in pain. He crawled back and knelt down saying, "We have already sent people to assassinate her, but she has been hiding in her house. We can't do anything." That was Wu Lingyu's headquarters. There were many experts there. If Sima Yue didn't come out, they wouldn't have a chance to make a move. If she doesn't come out, then go in. Weren't there still people there before? I don't care what method you use. You must get rid of her for me. The people kneeling on the ground felt bitter, but no one dared to say no. They obeyed the order and left. Mo Lu looked at the spacious great hall and laughed sinisterly. "Mo Sha, do you think that just because you found a woman you can win? You couldn't win against me hundreds of thousands of years ago. Now you can't win against me either." Chapter 2243. Sima Yue handed the refined poison to Hong Yuan, and he would naturally distribute it. Hong Yuan looked at the large and small bottles she threw out, and no emotions could be seen in his silver eyes. The first time he saw it he was a little surprised, but now he was used to it. "His Majesty left the city," he said. Sima Yue was startled and nodded to show that she understood. "His Majesty left the city to take down Rosewood City." Hong Yuan continued. "Isn't Rosewood City the next target? Why is he going now?" Sima Yue asked in surprise. "His Majesty has been in a bad mood recently," Hong Yuan said inexplicably, but Sima Yue understood. Because Sima Yue was now focused on refining the poison, Wu Lingyu was left out in the cold. He probably couldn't wait to kill Mo Lu right now. She seemed to have not seen him for a few days. But in order to be together with her two babies, she had to help him quickly solve the problem here. Seeing that she understood his meaning, Hong Yuan did not say much and turned to leave. He felt that he was a worrywart. In the past, when he looked down on Sima Yue, he was worried that she would be a burden to his Majesty. Later Wu Lingyu went to the Ghost Realm, and he had to help Wu Lingyu take care of the matters in the Devil Realm. At that time he was quite critical of Sima Yue. Now, Sima Yue came to the Devil Realm, and after meeting and accepting such a princess, he found that his Majesty was even worse, and even the people under him were not good. So, he had to come here and say something. He felt that he was about to become an old woman. Sigh. "Princess, are you still going to take a bath today?" A palace maid came over and asked Sima Yue. Sima Yue recently had the habit of taking a bath after coming out of seclusion, so she asked this question. The palace maid quickly turned on the water in the bathroom and waited for Sima Yue to go in before she went out. Hearing the sound of water entering, she waited outside for a while, estimated that it was about time, and pushed the door to enter. She did not expect to meet a pair of bright eyes as soon as she entered. She was shocked. How could this be? Are you wondering why I didn't faint? Sima Yue leaned against the side of the pool and hid her body under the petals. Her exposed collarbone was still wet. She had a smile on her face, but it sent chills down his spine. Princess, what are you saying? This servant just came in to see if Princess needs anything. The palace maid replied. You guys have spent a lot of effort to deal with me. Sima Yue continued. She went to the human realm to find such a powerful poison and put it in the bathwater. While I was bathing, it quickly invaded my body. And I've just come out of seclusion, so I'm a bit tired, so I won't be so vigilant. It's a pity that you miscalculated one thing. What did we miscalculate? The palace maid saw that she was so clear and knew that she had been exposed this time, so she didn't hide it anymore. I am immune to poison. Sima Yue sank her body into the water and let the water reach her neck. She said lazily, "Me air, I'll leave it to you." She paused and reminded him, "Remember to leave him with one last breath." She didn't care how Me air and that person fought as long as he wasn't completely dead. The battle ended very quickly. That person was not Me air's opponent at all, and was defeated in a few moves. When Hong Yuan heard the commotion and came over, Sima Yue directly handed him a list of names. "Here, these are the spies on your side. I don't care what you do with them." Hong Yuan knew that they had spies on their side, and also knew that there was something wrong with that palace maid, but he didn't catch her. Firstly, he believed in Sima Yue's strength, that Hong Yuan definitely wouldn't be able to hurt her. Secondly, he wanted to follow the clues and fish out more people. Sima Yue directly did what he wanted to do. He glanced at the list. Some people were within his expectations, but there were also a few names that surprised him. Seeing him raise his eyebrows, Sima Yue said lazily, "Don't worry, it's all accurate." These names were obtained by investigating the palace maid's sea of consciousness. She didn't confess it herself, so naturally, it wouldn't be wrong. Hong Yuan remembered that Wu Lingyu had mentioned this to him before. He understood what she meant and left with the list. Sima Yue really didn't care about what happened after that. She didn't even ask what happened to those people in the end. She just plunged into the spirit pagoda to refine poison. Looking at the newly refined poison, she couldn't help but sigh. Using poison to deal with those people, this method was really... But if she didn't do this, she didn't know when the matter in the demon world would be delayed. In less than 2 months, Wu Lingyu returned. Sima Yue saw him like that and knew that his situation was good. Her slightly worried heart finally relaxed. Wu Lingyu stayed in the palace for a few days. Sima Yue didn't go into seclusion during these few days, but accompanied him. A few days later, Wu Lingyu had to leave again. Sima Yue called out all her beasts. She was in seclusion and they felt uncomfortable holding it in. It was better to let them go out with Wu Lingyu to help, and let him take them to help little Meng take revenge. Those people were mostly related to the demon building. Many of them participated in the demon army. So if she wanted to take revenge, going to the battlefield was a good choice. Little Meng's enemies naturally had to be dealt with by her personally. She originally wanted to accompany them, but in the current situation she had no choice but to continue refining poison in seclusion. She felt guilty, but little Meng didn't think much of it. "Yu, do we still need those things between us? Besides, little Seven and little Gold are with me. You have to be careful. If there's any danger, use the power of the contract to return to the contract space." Sima Yue reminded them before letting them go with Wu Lingyu. Sima Yue saw little Meng's memories with her own eyes. At that time, Mo Sha was still contracted with her, so he saw those things too. He knew that she wanted to take revenge and wanted to go out with him. He didn't have any objections and brought a group of beasts with him. After they left, she went back into the spirit pagoda. A few months later, Wu Lingyu returned. Sima Yue stopped what she was doing to accompany him, and he left to go into seclusion. This cycle repeated. Sima Yue thought that these days would last for a long time. So when she heard from little Meng that Wu Lingyu was facing off at the demon building, she was shocked. It had only been slightly more than 3 years. At this time, she didn't have time to think about why it was so fast. After she came out of seclusion, she took out the small throne and went to the capital of the demon world. When she arrived, Wu Lingyu had brought people to surround the palace. Wu Lingyu and Mo Lu were facing off in the air. Seeing her come out, Mo Lu didn't think and attacked her directly. Mo Lu thought that with Sima Yue's strength, she should be killed directly. This way Wu Lingyu would be in a mess. Who knew that after the power dissipated, Sima Yue was still sitting on the small throne. And Wu Lingyu didn't even make a move. Chapter 2244. Sima Yue sat calmly on the little throne. Seeing Mo Lu and the others' shocked expressions, she removed the spatial seal and calmly came to Wu Lingyu's side. Spatial seal. Her comprehension of space was actually so powerful. Mo Lu had launched his attack the moment she appeared. His speed was so fast that it should have caught people off guard. However, she was able to seal the space in such a short period of time and force his attack away. Wu Lingyu saw her come to his side and reached out to hold her hand, saying, "Why are you here?" "Little Meng and the others told me about the situation here, so I came," Sima Yue said. Wu Lingyu saw the faint worry in her eyes and held her hand tightly, saying, "Don't worry, I'm fine." Sima Yue was worried that he wouldn't be able to control his emotions when facing his old enemy. After all, the hatred was so deep. But seeing Wu Lingyu's current state, she didn't have to worry. She didn't know what Wu Lingyu and Mo Sha said before she arrived, so she didn't see them speak much when she arrived. The two of them disappeared from their original spot and went into the void. The kings of both sides fought, so the remaining people naturally fought together. Sima Yue brought her beasts to join the battle. Little Seven, Little Gold, Hei Yen, Mi Air, Thousand Resonance and the other beasts from Wu Lingyu had already seen how powerful they were, so they weren't particularly surprised. But Little Birdie, Little Flame, Little Purple, Mi Air, Little Black and the others didn't go out before, and they weren't ordinary contracted beasts. One flame killed a bunch of them and one lightning struck a bunch of them. Their battle power was several levels higher than Hua Hua and the others, making them stunned. As for herself, she had the strength of a supreme-level cultivator. When she released spiritual techniques of various attributes, it blinded everyone's eyes. Her battle power was actually so strong. Wu Lingyu's people worshipped her because of the poison. Now that they saw her being so graceful, they instantly felt that other than her, no one else was worthy of their king. So what if she was a human? Wasn't their king's body also a human? Looking at the entire demon race, no one was more powerful than her. They heard that the princess consort and king didn't have a grand wedding. Once they took down the demon world, were they going to urge the king to marry the princess consort grandly? If Sima Yue knew that these people had such thoughts, she would probably roll her eyes. They were in the middle of a war and they still had the mind to think about other things. It had to be said that this battle would not be easy. Mo Lu had ruled the demonic world for so many years, and his foundation was there for all to see. If Wu Lingyu hadn't brought back Mo Lu's head, who knew who would have the last laugh in this battle? Wu Lingyu came back with injuries all over his body. Sima Yue went to help him up when she saw him. Seeing Yue and Yue's. The battle ended just like that. Hong Yuan led people to deal with the remaining matters. Yue brought Yue's to Yue's. As soon as he avoided the crowd, he fainted in front of Sima Yue. Sima Yue had long seen that he was holding on, but he had to do it for the current situation. Now that he was in a place where no one could see him, he couldn't hold on any longer. She helped him to the bed and quickly stopped his bleeding. After a series of actions, she was a little tired. Hong Yuan walked in from the outside. Seeing Wu Lingyu who hadn't woken up yet and her pale face, he said, "You are also injured. Since he is fine, you should take a look at yourself." Sima Yue smiled weakly at him, took out a medicinal pill and ate it. When her breathing was smooth, she said, "Have you settled the matters outside?" "Not yet." Mo Lu's death left behind a huge mess that couldn't be solved in a short time. "I was worried about my king, so I came to take a look. I have to go out later." Sima Yue handed him a bottle of medicinal pills. "This medicinal pill has a good healing effect. Lingyu is in such a state now, so I have to rely on you for the matters outside." Hong Yuan was silent. He took the jade bottle, held it in his hand and turned to leave. Sima Yue was also injured. She set up a barrier and asked Little Spirit to pay attention to the situation outside. Then she went to Wu Lingyu's side and slept together. When she woke up, her body was already much better. She first took a look at Wu Lingyu's situation. Seeing that his body was getting better, she set up a barrier around him before opening the door and going out. She followed the connection with her beasts and came to the outside of the palace. There were many captives here. She went over and saw that the outside of the open space was filled with people who were watching the show. All her beasts stood in the middle of the field, forming a semicircle with Little Dream in the middle. At this moment, whether it was Little Black, Mi Air or the other beasts, everyone's expression was very serious. They looked at those people as if they were looking at dead people. Little Dream was in the middle, piercing the heart of the person on the ground with her sword. She didn't say anything and just stared at him until he died. At this moment, Little Fire flew one round on the ground, leaving nothing behind. Little Dream this one. Little Roar picked up a person and threw him in front of Little Dream. Little Dream looked expressionlessly at the pair of eyes that were filled with fear. She raised the sword in her hand and said, "At that time I was as scared as you. But the fear you saw didn't have a trace of pity. Instead you laughed nonstop. The more scared I was, the happier you were. Especially when you dug out my heart. Even if I fainted, I could still hear your laughter." The person on the ground opened his mouth, but before he could say anything, his heart was pierced. This time the one who destroyed the corpse was Little Birdie. It was also neat and tidy. When the corpse was gone, Little Black waved his hand and a person flew in front of Little Dream. Sima Yue stood at the same spot and didn't go over. She didn't expect that Little Black who broke the seal would also participate. Since the beasts were helping Little Dream, she wouldn't go over and interrupt them. The surrounding people who were watching the show originally saw that Sima Yue's beasts were all together and felt that the scene was very spectacular. They didn't expect to see such a thing. Little Dream didn't hide it. Anyway, everyone already knew that she was a nightmare. It was just that they didn't know about these things. Hearing Little Dream's complaints, they all looked at her sympathetically. However, everyone was more afraid of the beast standing behind her. Using Sima Yue's words, they looked like they were from the underworld. Their aura was very scary. Little Dream didn't know how many people she had killed. Every time she killed someone, they would help her capture another one. When she saw these people, she thought of the scene where her clansmen were exterminated. When she regained her senses, the people in the plaza were all killed. These people were the enemies that Little Black and the rest found from the captives for her. They were the people who participated in the incident that year. As for the other small fries, they were all killed by them long ago. Now that she had killed all of them, wouldn't she be done with her revenge? She didn't know why, but her tears fell. Chapter 2245. A pair of hands hugged her from behind. It was so gentle and warm. Xiaoming turned around and buried herself in Sima Yue's embrace, crying uncontrollably. It's all in the past. You still have us. Sima Yue patted her shoulder gently and comforted her. She knew the feeling of self-blame when one's family died because of self-blame. She also knew the feeling of hatred supporting one's life. She also knew the emptiness in one's heart after taking revenge. She had experienced all of this before, so she understood it better than the other beasties. Seeing Xiaoming crying, the other beasties looked coldly at the people who were watching the show. Those people immediately left. Only a seemingly small demon hesitated before leaving. Let's go. The person beside him urged him. He looked at Sima Yue and shouted at her, Princess, when are you going to marry the king? Sima Yue was stunned. That person was pulled away by his companions. At this moment, the way the beasties looked at Sima Yue had changed. The coldness from before was gone, and there was only curiosity. Wu Lingyu still owed them a grand wedding. Back then they had secretly said that they were going to get married. Now that things were over, shouldn't they have a wedding? Sima Yue did not care about what others thought. However, when she saw the way her beasties looked at her, even Xiaoming stopped crying and looked at her with teary eyes. She could not help but twitch her mouth and said, This matter involves the human world, the demon world, and the ghost world. It's not that easy to handle. It's okay. We have nothing to do now anyway. Thousand Resonance said faintly. I'll go see if Lingyu is awake. Let's go too. If he wakes up, we can mention this matter to him. Sima Yue, although the beasties were a little embarrassed, they wanted to divert Xiaoming's attention and let her have something to do. Hence they did not say anything and brought them back. Wu Lingyu was still unconscious. She removed the barrier and went to check on him. Brother Lingyu is so badly injured. When will he wake up? Little Seven was the closest to Wu Lingyu. Seeing him lying lifelessly on the bed, his playful mood faded. He's sleeping like this because his body is repairing itself. Don't worry too much. Sima Yue said, but she was worried too. She rarely saw him injured, especially when he was injured to the point of being unconscious. Although she knew that he would wake up, she couldn't help but worry. Mother. Mother. Two childish voices came from outside. Sima Yue thought she was hallucinating. Plop. A small figure tripped over the threshold and fell to the ground. Wu Qiao looked at Wu Xiaodao who had fallen to the ground and reached out to help her. Wu Xiaodao crawled up and did not cry or make a fuss. He patted his body out of habit and then ran into Sima Yue's embrace. Mother, we missed you so much. Wu Xiaodao said we, not me. Sima Yue was finally sure that she wasn't hallucinating. Her two little darlings had appeared. Sima Yue hugged Wu Xiaodao and kissed him on the cheek. She smiled and said, Why are you here? Uncle Ming sent someone to send us back. Wu Qiao came to Sima Yue's side. Although he was small, he looked very calm. He came to Sima Yue's side, but he did not let her hug him like before. However, Sima Yue still squatted down and picked him up with one hand. She kissed him on the cheek and said, Little Yao Yao, did you miss mother? Wu Qiao's little face turned red. His voice was much softer than before, Yes. Mother missed you too. Sima Yue looked outside the door. No one came to reply. They must have left after sending them off. Who else could put on airs in front of her other than Ming? He even let the two little guys say that he sent someone. Mother, who is this person wrapped up like a dumpling? Wu Xiaodao pointed at Wu Lingyu on the bed and asked. A person wrapped up like a dumpling? She didn't know if Wu Lingyu would cry if he heard her describe him like this. Sima Yue put the two little guys down and brought them to the bedside. She said, "This is your father. He just fought with a big bad guy and is seriously injured. When he wakes up and sees you two, he will definitely be very happy." This is father? Who injured father? Let's get Uncle Ming to deal with him, Wu Xiaodao said hatefully. Wu Lingyu went to see them 4 years ago. They were still young at that time, so naturally they didn't remember. However, Ming usually showed them Wu Lingyu's image, so in their memories he was majestic. Who would have thought that he would be so seriously injured? Wu Qiao's face was also cold. His aura made Sima Yue raise her eyebrows. She rubbed the two children's heads and said, "That bad guy has already been killed by your father. Isn't your father very powerful?" Wu Xiaodao was lying on the edge of the bed. He stretched out his small hand to poke Wu Lingyu's bandage. When he heard Sima Yue say this, he nodded vigorously and said, "Father and mother are very powerful." Sima Yue smiled. This little guy had to bring her into the praise. "Mother, when will father wake up?" Wu Qiyao looked at Wu Lingyu's appearance and his small brows furrowed tightly. He should be able to wake up in half a day. Then let's stay here and guard father? This way father will be able to see us when he wakes up. Wu Xiaodao turned his head to ask Sima Yue for her opinion. "Okay, but we have to speak softly. We can't disturb father." She was very happy that the two children were so obedient. When Hua Di and the other generals came to see Wu Lingyu, they saw the mother and children in the room guarding the bed and whispering. There were suddenly 2 more children in the palace. What was going on? Everyone looked at Hong Yuan. Hong Yuan's eyes darkened and he shook his head, indicating that he didn't know either. However, they all stood guard outside and didn't go in. At this time Wu Lingyu woke up. Wu Xiaodao's eyes were sharp and he saw him immediately. He threw himself in front of him and said, "Father, you're awake?" Wu Lingyu saw a little face that was very similar to his own and immediately reacted. He didn't care about the injuries on his body as he reached out and scooped Wu Xiaodao onto his body. He smiled and said, "Xiaodao, are you here to see father?" "My brother and I are here." Wu Xiaodao seemed to have an impression of lying on his father's stomach and drooling on his clothes. Sima Yue went up to carry Wu Xiaodao and said, "You're still injured." "My injuries are almost healed." Wu Lingyu sat up from the bed and took off the bandages. The injuries on his body did indeed look much better. Chapter 2246. Wu Lingyu's condition was much better, but in the eyes of the two little guys, it was already very scary. Wu Xiaodao was so scared that he cried, and Wu Qiao's eyes were also red. Seeing the two children like this, Wu Lingyu got out of bed and hugged one in each hand saying, "Dad is fine. Look, I can even hug you." "Really?" Wu Xiaodao's teary eyes made his heart soften. "Of course it's true. Do you think Dad will coax you?" Wu Lingyu was particularly patient with the two children. At first he didn't know that Sima Yue was pregnant. He didn't see them until she gave birth. After they were born, he didn't have time to accompany them. He felt very guilty towards the two children. Sima Yue was worried about his injuries. She went up and carried Wu Qiao down asking, "How long can you stay this time? Did Uncle Ming say when he will pick you up?" "Uncle Ming said that we are already 6 years old, so we don't have to go back for the time being," Wu Xiaodao said. "Uncle Ming said that we will go back after you get married." Wu Qiao was more honest. They still had to go. Sima Yue was a little disappointed. "Uncle Ming said that if you have nothing to do you can go back with us," Wu Qiao added. Sima Yue was happy. Hong Yuan saw that Wu Lingyu had woken up and the family was happy and harmonious. He planned to leave with them. At this time Wu Lingyu's voice came from inside, "Come in." Hong Yuan led them in. Everyone's attention was on the two little guys. They were very curious about the two children who looked like Wu Lingyu and Sima Yue. "This is Xiaodao and Qiao. They are the children Yue and I had in the human world. They are twins." They were obviously twins, but one looked like the father and the other looked like the mother. This was too amazing. Sima Yue curled her lips. It would be strange if the twins looked exactly the same. However, they wouldn't understand the difference between identical twins and fraternal twins. "Greetings to the prince and princess." Everyone saluted the two little guys. "Get up." Wu Qiao didn't panic. He waved his hand and said indifferently. His bearing was really like that of a prince. Wu Xiaodao imitated her mother and curled her lips. When they were in the underworld they had encountered this kind of thing many times. Now that there were so few people, how could they panic? Seeing that the two little fellows were calm, the others were even more surprised. To have such a bearing at such a young age, it was obvious that he was not raised by an ordinary family. I didn't see the prince and princess before. How did they come here? Hong Yuan asked directly, but this was indeed the question in everyone's heart. They were born in the underworld. They came directly from the underworld. Sima Yue said. Wu Lingyu was slightly taken aback. Sima Yue glanced at him, indicating that it was fine. Dark was very open about the matters of the netherworld. From the way he sent the two little fellows over with such fanfare, it was clear that he didn't care. Hong Yuan raised his eyebrows. He knew about the underworld, but he didn't expect the two little guys to have a good relationship in the underworld. They grew up in other worlds. He knew almost everything about Wu Lingyu's relationship. In other words, the people in the underworld didn't know about the underworld, but he tactfully didn't ask again. How are things going? Wu Lingyu asked. There are still many things. Everyone was worried about your health, so they came to take a look. Since you're fine, we'll go out and continue working. Hong Yuan replied. Thank you for your hard work. Wu Lingyu nodded. Hong Yuan then left with his people. Soon the news that Wu Lingyu and Sima Yue already had a child spread. Mo Lu died. There were indeed many things in the underworld. Wu Lingyu went out half a day after he woke up and didn't return for the next 2 days. Wu Xiaodao and Wu Qiao had Sima Yue to accompany them and so many beasts to play with them, so they didn't think about their father. 2 days later Wu Lingyu returned to the palace and saw Wu Xiaodao, who ran towards him but fell. He went up and picked her up, asking softly, Did it hurt? No, I have the treasure that Uncle Ming gave me. It won't hurt. Wu Xiaodao hugged her father and said proudly. Wu Lingyu raised his eyebrows. Wu Qiao came out from behind and explained, Uncle Ming refined the soft armor for her. When she wears it, once she falls, it will automatically create a barrier. But it's very thin, others can't see it. Uncle Ming personally refined it for you? Yes. Uncle Ming refined it for me. I looked at it from the side but I didn't understand anything. Wu Xiaodao nodded and said, Those messy things hurt my eyes just looking at them. You were the one who ran over to get those things and fell down. Wu Qiao exposed her. Wu Qiao. I'll beat you up. Wu Xiaodao was a little angry from being exposed. She waved her little hand. Wu Qiao didn't put her threat in his eyes. The two of them weren't like other people who only started cultivating when they were 10 years old. With Ming around, the two of them had already started. Wu Xiaodao's strength was already considered an expert, but he was still far from Wu Qiao. But it didn't matter. He was a man and had to protect her. Her weakness was her weakness. Sima Yue stood at the side. When she saw her two children, she couldn't hide the smile in her eyes. Wu Lingyu also carried Wu Qiao and walked towards her in large strides. Why did you come back at this time? Are you done with the front? Sima Yue smiled and went to pick up Wu Qiao. Wu Lingyu shook his head. I came back to see you guys. Father, you don't have to come back to see us. Wu Xiaodao said seriously. What, you don't want to see father? Wu Lingyu's sad look was a little real. That's not it. Father, the sooner you finish the matters in front, the sooner you can marry mother. Wu Xiaodao said in all seriousness. Wu Lingyu reached out and scratched her little nose. He found it funny. Who told you this? Little Roar and the others. They said that father and mother didn't have a wedding. Only when you're done can you do it. They also said that if you don't marry mother, mother won't have a proper status. So father, if you have something to do, hurry up and do it. Then we'll go back to the human world and get married. Sima Yue's mouth twitched. These guys even told her this. In the end, Wu Lingyu stayed with them for half a day before leaving. The rest of the time was like this. Half a year later, Wu Lingyu, who hadn't appeared for more than 10 days, came back to them. He smiled at them. I'm almost done here. Let's go back to the human world. Wu Xiaodao was small, but he understood everything. When he heard this, he was stunned for a moment before jumping up. That's great. We're finally going back to the human world. Father and mother are finally getting married. Chapter 2247. The news that Wu Lingyu and the others were returning to the human realm quickly spread in the devil realm. Everyone was very disappointed at first. Their princess consort was like a goddess. Why was she leaving so soon? Then they heard that they were going back to get married, and that they would also invite people from the devil realm. Everyone was happy. However, they were still a little worried. The relationship between the devil realm and the human realm had always been bad. They also knew about the existence of the bloody passage. These years they had been thinking about it. If they went there, would it affect them? It's okay. It'll be fine as long as the bloody passage is removed in the future, Wu Lingyu said. Hong Yuan raised his eyebrows. Since he said so, he must have some ideas. Thinking about it, the bloody passage was because the previous devil kings wanted to go to the human realm to gain benefits, so they kept sending people there. Now that Wu Lingyu had become the devil king, he came from the human realm. Naturally, he hoped that the two sides could get along well. Not to mention that there would be no disputes after contact. Even if there were, it would only be a private matter. There would not be a large number of devil clans attacking the human clan. To be honest, the human clan was strong and the devil clan was not weak. However, it was unrealistic to say that they would snatch the resources of the human realm. Mo Sha had already tried hundreds of thousands of years ago, and now he was more inclined to live in peace. Sima Yue also had the same idea. After all, Mo Lu was not in power now. It would be best if both sides could live in harmony. Sima Yue brought Wu Lingyu and the two children back. This news caused an uproar in the Sima family. Sima Zhiyuan personally brought them back, and even Sima Qing, the old ancestor, came out. Along with the news of their return, Wu Lingyu's identity and what he and Sima Yue did in the devil realm also spread. The holy son of the sage pavilion suddenly became the devil king of the devil realm. This news simply blew up on the road, so much so that Sima Yue and the others could hear the discussions outside even if they stayed in the family. However, the Sima family didn't care because they had already accepted Wu Lingyu. No matter who he was, it was the same to them. The most important thing was that the two children he had with Yu were simply too adorable. With these two treasures around, who would care about his identity? At this moment, Wu Xiaodao, Wu Qiyao, and Sima Zihao were being brought out to play by Sima Yue, while Wu Lingyu and the elders of the Sima family were discussing matters in the hall. Sima Yue looked back at the three children while they were playing and shook her head helplessly. They should be discussing the marriage, right? However, he even set up a barrier to prevent her from listening. Elder sister, are you going to marry brother-in-law? Sima Zihao ran over and asked. Sima Yue was dazed for a moment when she heard the word brother-in-law. She stroked Zihao's head and asked, how did you know? Everyone in the residence has spread the news. I heard it when I came over today. Sima Zihao said, elder sister, you're getting married. Are you going to live in the devil realm? Will I still be able to see you? I probably won't stay there for long. Will you be gone for many years like this time? Uncle, my father and mother have a lot of things to do. They're busy, so they definitely won't be at home often. Wu Xiaodao came over and said. Sima Zihao was a little disappointed, but he was quickly pulled away by Wu Xiaodao to play. They discussed the marriage for 2 days. Sima Yue saw Wu Lingyu and rolled her eyes at him before turning to enter the house. Wu Lingyu touched his nose, feeling wronged. This wasn't his idea alone. How could he be blamed for this? A few days later, the news of Sima Yue's wedding in a year's time was spread out, and many forces received the invitation. This was originally good news, but it was accompanied by another piece of news. The people from the devil realm and the ghost realm would also attend. The three realms had always been like fire and water, but this time they invited the people from the devil realm and the ghost realm. This news was hard for them to accept. Those who were angrier were already protesting. But the Sima family wasn't worried at all with Sima Yue and Wu Lingyu's status. Who would have any objections if they invited the people from the devil realm and the ghost realm? Wu Lingyu was the devil realm's king, Sima Yue's grandfather was the ghost realm's king, and he was even an emperor king, so it was natural for the people from the devil realm and the ghost realm to attend the wedding. At the same time, the Sima family also announced that they were only inviting the people from the devil realm and the ghost realm to attend the wedding, and didn't have any other intentions. During this period of time, they would restrict the actions of the people from the two realms, and wouldn't let them harm humans. Because of Sima Yue's special status, they had no choice but to do so. If they didn't mind, they could choose not to attend the wedding. At this moment, the people from the Guild Alliance replied that they would definitely attend, and the ancient spiritual beast clan also replied that they would attend. Then, the spiritual beasts from Paramount Valley, Heavenly Sect, and Jiuxing Ming Ocean would also attend the wedding under the lead of the Violet Water Dragon clan. Then, the Yin family of the 49 states, the Su family of the 19 states, the Feng family, the Tuoba family, and other people who had dealings with them all responded. All the bird clans also responded. The divine vermilion bird was Sima Yue's contracted beast. How could they not attend? After a few days, the Feng people of the divine race also announced through the Xianyuan Pavilion that the Feng people and the Xianyuan Pavilion would attend. The legendary Ghost City also expressed that they would come to ask for a glass of wine. Gradually, some people who had interest with the Sima family also expressed that they would attend. After a few months, almost half of the forces in the continent expressed that they would attend the wedding. In the end, it wasn't those people who were worried but the Sima family. Because many of those who expressed that they didn't send out invitations and didn't intend to invite them in the beginning, but who asked them to say that they were busy, and the invitations might be left out, so they asked everyone not to mind. Everyone was welcome to attend the wedding. In this way, those who didn't have invitations would be able to attend openly. Who knows, we might be the ones you left out. But you don't have to worry, we won't mind. Sima Zhiyuan and the others looked at the pile of people who responded that they would attend, and the corners of their mouths twitched time and time again. 2 months before the wedding, the people from the Devil Realm and Ghost Realm came. The people from the Devil Realm were led by Hong Yuan, and the people from the Ghost Realm were selected by the Ghost King. They were all related to Sima Yue, and they wouldn't be unable to control themselves. Because there were too many people, the Sima family couldn't accommodate them all, and couldn't even accommodate the entire city. They had no choice but to settle them down in a nearby city, so that it would be more convenient for them to attend the wedding. Sima Yue didn't understand the situation outside, because she was held in the courtyard to wait for the wedding. The Sima family kept her secret, and even her beasts kept it a secret. She couldn't even let her scarlet bees go out to investigate. She didn't go out to investigate and just waited until the day before the wedding. Chapter 2248. As the wedding date approached, many old friends came. Chinamo, a few old friends from the Tuoba family, her classmates in the academy, her brothers, and so on. She had been receiving her friends for the past 2 days. You're quite busy. Sima Yoyue's eyes lit up when she heard a voice that she hadn't heard for a long time. She turned around and saw Chin and Limbo. Chin Limbo, you're here. Junior martial aunt. Chin walked over and hugged her. Congratulations on your marriage. I hope you don't mind the gift. Sima Yue accepted the gift and pulled her into the house. Limbo followed behind them. How's your stay in the human world? Sima Yue asked. Chin had been in the human world for more than 100 years. It's pretty good. I stayed in Paramount Valley for a while and then went around with him. Sometimes I'll go back to the ghost world. Although he lost a lot of things, there are still some things that he needs to do. Chin said. Did they come from the ghost world this time? Yes, they came from the hidden sect to bring the news of your marriage back. Your master said that they would come, but they know that you're busy, so they don't need you to entertain them. They can take care of themselves. Chin conveyed their message. She would be very busy when she got married and she would be the main character. It was impossible for her to have time to entertain others. She could only take care of herself. However, 2 days before the wedding, she heard that they were coming and went to see them. The people from the devil world and the ghost world lived separately. Everyone who came was strictly forbidden from killing the innocent. Otherwise, they wouldn't be able to return. Wu Lingyu took care of the devil world. She only showed her face twice and didn't care much. In the ghost world, those who had a good relationship with her came, including little girls like Ting Shan and Ting Shui. With the Ghost King in charge, no one dared to mess around in the human world. Every time they went out, they were very polite. This changed the impression of the people in the human world. It turned out that not all the devil world and the ghost world were like this. In the end, some people even became friends with the ghost world and the devil world. This greatly improved the relationship between the 3 clans. 2 days before the wedding, Wu Lingyu announced that he would not send people to invade the human race in the future, so the bloody passage would not appear again. The humans were overjoyed when they heard the news. In the past, everyone would go to the bloody passage to resist the demons and suffer heavy losses. If it didn't exist, it would naturally be a great thing. Because of this contact, the human race's impression of the devil race and the ghost race had greatly changed. Later on, the devil race and the ghost race sent some powerful and upright people to contact Zhuangzi, who had been here before. These people protected and guided the human race to contact the human race. Slowly, the human race began to accept the devil race and the ghost race. At least, they wouldn't attack and kill them whenever they saw them. If there were any conflicts, they would treat them as personal issues, and there wouldn't be any large-scale killings. The 3 races gradually merged. Of course, this was a story for another time. In the blink of an eye, it was time for her wedding. Because they didn't have to travel from one place to another, she and Wu Lingyu would appear together. Early in the morning she was tortured by Bei Gong Tang, Shi Men Li Siyu and Han Miao Shuang in the house. It was only now that she felt what Han Miao Shuang and the others felt. What do I have to do later? She asked. You don't have to do anything. Just follow them. Bei Gong Tang said with a smile. That's right. Just follow them. When the time comes you'll naturally know what to do. Sima Yue couldn't win against them and could only be tortured by them. She changed into the wedding dress that San Yang personally made. Shimenli helped her tie up her hair, put on the phoenix coronet that Wu Lingyu personally made, and put on exquisite makeup. When everything was done, she looked so dazzling that people couldn't take their eyes off her. So beautiful. Bei Gong Tang said with a smile. She reached out her hand to straighten her wedding dress and unknowingly her eyes turned red. Shimenli's eyes also turned red. It's not like you can't see her after she gets married. You guys are so sad. Siyu was more open-minded. I'm more interested in seeing his expression when he sees you. He definitely won't be able to take his eyes off you, and then he can't wait to snatch you back and hide you. Qin Qin said with a smile. You know so well. Was that what you thought at that time? Sima Yue teased with a smile. I think so. If not, how could you know so well? Shimenli said with a smile. So what if I did? Aren't you guys the same? Qin Qin wasn't embarrassed at all. Sima Yue also heard from her the day before that she and Wu He had already held their wedding in the ghost realm. It was a pity that she was in a coma and couldn't go back to attend. At this time, Fatty and the others who were guarding outside shouted from the courtyard, "The bridegroom is here." Then the door was opened. Sima Yue saw Wu Lingyu in his wedding dress, and the two babies beside him. Seeing the amazement in their eyes, she suddenly felt that it was worth it to be tormented for half a day. Mother, you're so beautiful. Wu Xiaodao rushed into Sima Yue's arms and hugged her, looking up and sighing. Sima Yue patted her head. Wu Lingyu really didn't want others to see her like this. If there weren't so many guests outside, he probably would have done so. He sighed in his heart and walked in front of Sima Yue, reaching out his hand to her. The guests are all here. Let's go. Sima Yue smiled at him and put her hand in his palm, allowing him to lead her out of the room and into the future. The two of them stood outside the door. Qi Yan transformed into his original form and circled the courtyard twice before stopping in front of them. Wu Lingyu held her hand and flew onto Qi Yan's back. Qi Yan flew into the air while her beasts all transformed into their original forms and separated on both sides of Qi Yan. A group of phoenixes flew over from the surroundings and surrounded them in the middle. Then Wu Xiaodao and Wu Qiao leaped and landed on the two phoenixes flying in front of Qi Yan. Each of them had a flower basket in their hands. As the two of them scattered the first handful of petals, the whole group started to move. This is strengthening. Wei Ziki exclaimed. That's right. Fatty Chu agreed, let's go over first. Otherwise we won't be able to see them arrive. Thus, the group of people flew towards the location of the banquet. Because there were so many people, the Sima family couldn't sit down at all. Thus, they set up a plane outside the city as the wedding venue. Qi Yan and the others wanted to bring her there. When they arrived, Sima Yue realized how grand the wedding was. The vast plain was densely packed with people and tables. It was as if one couldn't see the end of it. There was a red carpet in the middle of these people. Sima Yue thought that they would have to walk over there. Thinking that it would take a long time, Qi Yan continued to fly over with them in the air. Sima Yue's mouth twitched. Was flying over also considered walking the red carpet? Chapter 2249. Sima Yue placed her hand on his palm while the two children scattered flowers in front of them. There were endless guests on both sides of the red carpet. The congratulatory voices from below were incessant. Qi Yan took them and flew very slowly, as if he wanted to let the guests take a good look at them. The red carpet took almost half an hour to fly, which was enough to show the length of the red carpet. Thinking about the tables on both sides, she really couldn't guess how many people came to attend the wedding. At the end of the red carpet, Wu Xiaodao and Wu Qiao landed in front of the stage. Many people were surprised that the little children could fly with pre-control. They could cultivate at such a young age? But the two little children clearly didn't use any spiritual weapons, they were flying by themselves. Everyone knew that Sima Yue and Wu Lingyu had two children. Now that they saw the two children who looked so similar to them, they naturally knew their identity. Wu Lingyu held Sima Yue's hand and walked step by step to the stage, standing between Wu Xiaodao and Wu Qiao. Her beasts turned into human form and flew to the two sides of the stage. After a series of ceremonies, they first followed the ancient etiquette. After the two bowed to each other, Wu Qiao and Wu Xiaodao came up. At this time they were no longer holding flower baskets but two trays. Sima Yue saw her ring that was taken away by Wu Xiaodao on the trays. Thus, the Western-style ceremony was repeated once more. The one who spoke was still Wu Qiao. Seeing him say those words seriously, Sima Yue wanted to laugh but couldn't. She also felt a little uncomfortable. After Wu Qiao said those words, he looked at the two of them very seriously, waiting for their answer. Sima Yue's mouth twitched but she still replied, "I'm willing, father mother, you can wear the ring now." Wu Xiaodao stepped forward and looked at his parents with a smile. Sima Yue inexplicably felt her cheeks heat up. These two little fellows. Then, Sima Yue and Wu Lingyu still followed the old customs to toast. Although there were many people, the seats were arranged according to their closeness, so the two of them only needed to propose a toast to those who were close to them. There were many important figures from the human realm, ghost realm, and devil realm. After this round of toasting, the sky had already turned dark. Fortunately, they had eaten the sobering pills that she had refined, so they were not completely drunk. When he reached the table of his brothers, Sima Yuran nodded at him, saying, "If he bullies you in the future, just come back. We brothers will take care of you." "Sure." Sima Yue replied with a smile. "Third brother, don't worry. Only you bullies me. I didn't bully her." Wu Lingyu cheerfully said. "That's more like it. Originally, I wanted to drag you to drink until you were drunk, but thinking that you two still had to go to other tables, I decided to let you go today. However, when you have time later, you'll have to drink it back." Sima Yuming said. "Of course." Wu Lingyu readily agreed. When they reached Bei Gong Tang and the others, Fatty Chu said with a smile, "You're finally married." They had known each other since they were young, so they were more emotional about her marriage than the others. "No matter what, you will always be my companions." Sima Yue raised her wine cup and proposed a toast to them. No matter how big the gap between them was in the future, no matter how often they met, the friendship that they had grown up together would always be engraved in her heart, and in their hearts. Bei Gong Tang and the others also raised their wine cups and laughed as they clinked their cups with hers. They drank the wine in their cups in one gulp. The banquet lasted for 3 days, and many people even took out shadow stones to record this scene. After that, it spread all over the devil realm and ghost realm. On the night of the wedding, those people were still drinking outside the city. Sima Yue and Wu Lingyu had already returned to Sima family, and were currently in the bridal chamber. A group of people were outside Sima Yue's courtyard. When they saw the bright barrier, they were so angry that they gritted their teeth. They actually did not allow them to disturb the bridal chamber. When they returned, they would definitely settle the score with Wu Lingyu. Sima Yue and Wu Lingyu were currently lying on the bed and chatting. They were not worried at all about how they would take revenge on them tomorrow. Wu Lingyu hugged her tightly and sniffed her body. He said with satisfaction, "I finally got to hug you again." In order to prevent him from revealing anything to Sima Yue, the two of them did not meet in private. He also could not stay in Sima residence, so he had not hugged her like this for a long time. Sima Yue's neck was tickled by his breath. She smiled and pushed his head away. "It's only been a month, how long has it been? Didn't you come back after not seeing each other for a few years?" "That's different. In the past they had no choice. The two of them had things that they had to do, so they had to bear with it even if they wanted to separate. Now the situation was different. The two of them could finally be together. In the past they stuck together every day. Now that they had been apart for so long, it naturally felt like a long time." Sima Yue could not push him away, so she let him do as he pleased. Thinking about today's scene, she said emotionally, "I knew that there would be a lot of people, but I never thought that there would be so many. I wonder if anything happened to the people from the 3 realms this time?" She did not know how the Sima family managed to organize such a large banquet with so many people. Also, the people from the 3 realms seemed to be in harmony today. She did not know if it was the same before. "Don't worry, the people from the devil realm and ghost realm were all restrained. Nothing happened." Wu Lingyu's hands were already moving around. "This wedding dress is so tight. It's not comfortable to wear it. Let's change." Sima Yue glanced at him. Just as she was about to follow his words and take off her wedding dress, she heard a tearing sound. The wedding dress had already been torn to shreds by him. She glared at him. He replied with a smile, "Happy nights are short. Let's not waste any more time." Every minute of the night was worth 1,000 gold. Sima Yue was in a trance and didn't remember how long they had been tossing around. She only remembered that Wu Lingyu seemed to want to make up for all the time that he owed her. The banquet would be held for 3 days. Other than the first day of the wedding, the two of them stayed in the room for the next 2 days, chatting and reading. Wu Xiaodao and Wu Qiao, the two little fellows, came back drunk and took care of the two little fellows. Why is there no one looking after them? They are so young and they are allowed to drink. Sima Yue complained as she helped the two little fellows change their clothes. When they returned to the Sima family, she wanted to get 2 maids to look after them. But they did not want to, so she just let them be. Who knew that they would be so drunk today? Wu Lingyu came over to help. They just drank a little wine. Nothing will happen. The two little fellows are so young. The effect of the sobering pill is too strong. I have to refine other pills for them. After saying that, he went into the spirit pagoda. After a while he came out and gave them 2 pills. The two little fellows then fell asleep. Chapter 2250. Because it was their first time drinking wine and the 2 children were still young, they did not sleep well even though they felt more comfortable after eating the wine she gave them. Wu Xiaodao stretched out his hand and scratched his face, then swung his hand towards Wu Qiao's face. Wu Qiao did not even open his eyes as he grabbed her hand and put it back. He even patted her gently a few times to coax Wu Xiaodao to sleep before he retracted his hand. It seemed that he often did this. Sima Yue was very pleased to see this. Xiao Yaoyao took good care of Xiaodao, he is more like an older brother. Wu Lingyu did not think that it was worth praising and said lightly, a man should take good care of the people around him, not to mention this is his sister. Sima Yue pulled the quilt over to cover the 2 children. She did not know what to think and the smile on her face gradually disappeared. What are you thinking about? Sima Yue sighed. Ming said to let them stay with us until after the wedding. Now that we are married, I don't know when he will come to take the 2 children away. She felt sad when she thought about being separated from the 2 children again. You can't bear to leave the children? Yes. The 2 children are already so big. If you want to go with them he should not stop you. Wu Lingyu said. Really? Sima Yue's eyes lit up. Then when he comes I will mention it to him. Anyway, I have not done anything in the past few years, I will go with them. The matters in the human world and the devil world were almost settled. Her own cultivation had increased too quickly and now she needed to consolidate it instead of continuing to cultivate. Therefore her time was suddenly free. It was not impossible for her to go with them. Moreover, the 2 children were already grown up. If they were a little uncomfortable she would not stop them. When the time came Ming would not say anything. When the time came she would go with them. Thinking about this her mood improved again. She looked at the 2 children with a gentle expression. After 3 days of the banquet the guests went back. The devils and ghosts were invited back by Zhuangzi. They greeted those who Sima Yue was not familiar with and went back by themselves. Those who were on good terms with her stayed behind and looked for time to visit her and Wu Lingyu. Sima Yue met them one by one. By the time she sent them away 2 to 3 months had passed. As the Sima family quieted down, a faint sorrow of parting shrouded the Sima family. After the wedding little young master and little young mistress were about to leave. At that time Wu Lingyu and little young mistress would probably leave as well. There were clearly many people in the clan, but as soon as they left, it always felt like something was missing. However, they also knew that Sima Yue would not stay at this place. She had a long future ahead of her. Therefore no one could say anything to make her stay. When Ming arrived at the Sima family, Wu Xiaodao dropped the things in her hand and ran towards him. When she was running halfway she tripped over something and was about to fall again. Ming, who was still a little far away, suddenly appeared beside her and reached out to catch her. Didn't I tell you not to run away so easily? Ming frowned and reprimanded, but his words were full of concern. Wu Xiaodao hugged his neck and giggled in his arms. Xiaodao is happy to see Uncle Ming. Ming's stern face loosened. He hugged her and asked, did you miss me after leaving for so long? Yes, Xiaodao misses Uncle Ming every day. After saying this Wu Xiaodao kissed Ming's face. Ming Faker could no longer keep up his poker face. The corners of his mouth curled up, and his tone became much lighter. The guard behind Ming sighed again. The only person who could appease his master when he was angry was the little young mistress. Ming hugged Wu Xiaodao and came to Sima Yue. He looked at Wu Qiao who was standing at the side and said, why did you raise the 2 little fellows so thin? Uncle Ming, it's not that we're thin. Uncle Ming hasn't seen us for a long time so he thinks we're thin. Wu Qiao explained for his mother. Sima Yue touched Wu Qiao's head and looked at Ming. When are we leaving? Ming raised his eyebrows. Are you sure you want to go? Of course. I'll give you half a day. Ming ignored her and went to tease Wu Xiaodao. Uncle Ming, are we going back to the underworld? Wu Xiaodao asked. Yes. Then can we still come back to see grandfather and grandmother? We won't be back for a while. When you go back, you have to go through the second round of body shaping and awaken your innate talent. I don't think there's enough time, so how can I have time to come back? Then can't we see father? Father went back to the demon realm yesterday. Xiaodao promised to go to the demon realm to see him. You can't go back on your word. Ming frowned. He was very unhappy, but he still couldn't bear to see her disappointed. He said hesitantly, then I'll let you see him during the break. Thank you, Uncle Ming. Wu Xiaodao was happy. She hugged his neck and kissed him on the cheek. Then she turned to look at Wu Qiyao as if she wanted to take credit. Mother and little Yao Yao were still having a headache about going to see father. Wasn't it settled now? Although little Yao Yao was the one who came up with this idea, she was the one who settled it. Wu Qiyao's eyes were filled with a smile when he saw her expression. Ming always said that he disliked Wu Xiaodao's fate, but he doted on her the most. With her around, there was nothing that couldn't be done. Just half a day. Stingy. Sima Yue went up to hug Wu Xiaodao. Seeing that Ming was unhappy, she said, I have to take them to say goodbye to father, mother and grandfather. You can do as you wish. She put down Wu Xiaodao and took one in each hand to say goodbye to the family. These 2 days the Sima family had guessed that they were leaving, so they weren't surprised. They were just reluctant to part with them. However, they couldn't bear to part with them. They had no choice but to send them away. Ming opened a passageway that looked like a door. He carried Wu Xiaodao and Sima Yue carried Wu Qiao in. The Sima family sighed. Now that she was leaving, they didn't know how long it would be before they could see her again. Sima Yue came to the underworld and stayed in the small courtyard from before. Before she could say anything to her children, they were taken away by Ming. Can't it be later? She protested. It's already 1 month later than I planned. After saying that, Ming left without looking back. It turned out that he had already given her more than a month to stay in the human world. A few days later, the 2 little fellows were sent back. Sima Yue found that there was a very ancient aura on them. Although it was relatively faint, she still noticed it. The 2 little fellows snuggled on her body for a while and fell asleep. 2 days after they woke up, Ming took them away again. A few days later, he sent them back and repeated the process. Chapter 2251. Green mountains and clear water, white clouds circled the top. A small stream flowed out of the mountain and slowly flowed into the distance. There were dense woods on both sides of the stream. There were not many trees, but they were all towering trees. A wisp of smoke rose in spirals from the stream. Mother, drink some water. Wu Qiao handed a cup of water to Sima Yue. Mother, wait a little longer, the beggar's chicken will be ready soon. Wu Xiaodao said. Take your time, mother is not in a hurry. Sima Yue drank the water, but Wu Qiao took the cup away. She leaned against the tree trunk and looked at her 2 children lovingly. In a flash, 8 or 9 years had passed. The 2 children were already 16 years old. Wu Xiaodao had become a graceful young lady, and Wu Qiao had become a charming little handsome boy. Wu Xiaodao had a cheerful personality, while Wu Qiao was mature and steady. Other than being good to them, he was very cold to outsiders. Who knew where he learned this personality from? Mother, we have been in the god's domain for 2 days. When will we go out? Wu Xiaodao turned over the fire and asked. Wait a little longer. Sima Yue spread out her hand and a plate of spirit fruit appeared in her palm. Wu Qiao took it and put it on the table. Mother, did Uncle Ming say how long we can stay in the god's domain? Wu Xiaodao estimated that it was about time. He turned over the beggar's chicken and put it on the plate on the table. There were already several dishes on the table. After the beggar's chicken was ready, the 3 came to eat. He didn't say, he just said to let you follow me out to gain experience. Sima Yue said and picked up the food to eat. Seeing Wu Xiaodao's eyes brighten, the corners of his mouth rose. The beggar's chicken is not bad. Wu Xiaodao was even happier. That's all you have? Wu Qiao said lightly. Wu Qiao, do you want to fight? Wu Xiaodao shouted at him. Wu Qiao was not scared by her threat and picked up the food to eat. Just when Wu Xiaodao was angry, he said faintly, I am praising you. Besides, can you beat me? You wait and see, one day I will be better than you. Let's talk about it when that day comes. Sima Yue didn't try to persuade them. Thinking about Wu Xiaodao, she couldn't help but sigh. Wu Qiao's talent was not only in cultivation, but also as a professional. He was very similar to her and Wu Lingyu. He knew almost everything. Although he was still young and his strength level wasn't particularly high, he had already far surpassed his peers. But as for Wu Xiaodao, perhaps because of her fate, everything she touched exploded. She didn't know anything about alchemy, refining, array formations, or beast taming. If one were to say that she didn't have talent, she would be able to remember pill recipes after looking at them twice. Even if she could comprehend them, her furnace would still explode. The only thing she could touch was the cooking flame. Therefore, other than cooking, she did not know how to do anything. Fortunately, she didn't really like those things. She was only passionate about cooking and didn't care if she knew how to do those things. "Mother, are we going to look for your friend?" Wu Qiao turned to ask Sima Yue after angering Wu Xiaodao. Fuxi and Sima Yulin were up there. The principal was there as well. There was also Feng Ruyen, Muyiqi Jianan Xin and Shen Xiuhe. Thinking about Shen Xiuhe, her mood was not very good. "Mother, are you thinking about Shen Xiuhe?" Wu Xiaodao was usually carefree, but sometimes he was especially sensitive. Wu Qiao glanced at Wu Xiaodao and said to Sima Yue, "We will definitely find a way to solve Shen Xiuhe's problem. Mother, don't be too sad." Sima Yue had told them about Shen Xiuhe before, so they knew about her relationship with him. She smiled at them, but her heart couldn't help but sink. She didn't tell the two guys that she didn't come this time to reminisce with her friends, but because she started to have that dream again. In the dream he was killing people and smiling at her. He even said to her, "I'll wait for you to come back." She didn't know if it was because she absorbed Emperor Qingdao's power that made their relationship closer, but she could feel him in the underworld. The moment she woke up, she knew that he was calling her back. After a few years of silence, he started to look for her again. She thought about the injuries he got from her. Maybe he went to recuperate in the past few years. Now that he was healed, he couldn't wait for her to come over. She thought about what he said before he left. If she didn't look for Emperor Qingdao, he would kill her family and friends. She didn't dare to gamble with anyone's life, so she decided to come over at that time. She didn't expect that when she told Ming, the two guys heard it. Wu Xiaodao wanted to come together. Although Wu Qiao didn't say it, he stood firmly behind Wu Xiaodao and expressed his intention. Sima Yue thought that Ming would object, but she didn't expect him to agree after thinking for a while, saying that he wanted them to come together. She didn't want the two kids to be too worried, so she said that she was here to see her friends. However, she had been in the divine realm for 2 days, and she didn't think of what to do next. She just wanted to let Shen Xiuhe know that she was in the divine realm to calm him down. "Mother, are we going to find your friends?" Wu Xiaodao asked. "I don't know where they are either." Sima Yue said, "Let's get out of here first." After eating, they walked down the stream. The stream gradually converged into a big river. At the intersection of the river, they finally found a small village. "It's so strange here. There are no spirit beasts. We only found a village after walking so far," Wu Xiaodao said. "Mother, let's go into the village and ask?" Wu Xiaodao said. "Okay." Sima Yue had long found out that this place was unusual, but she didn't say anything. She had been waiting for them to find out. The three of them flew towards the village. Before they entered the village, they saw a small figure running out of the village. There were a few people chasing behind him. "Mother, it seems like they are chasing after him," Wu Xiaodao said excitedly. Wu Qiao glanced at her. "Others are being chased, what are you so excited about?" "Little Yao Yao, go save him," Wu Xiaodao ordered him. "I can't tell friend from foe, I won't save him." Wu Qiao refused. Such a small child, what kind of enemy can he be? Wu Xiaodao patted his shoulder twice. "I want to save him myself, but I'm afraid that before I can save him, he will be implicated by me and lose his life." Wu Qiao's face darkened. He was very unhappy that she said that. However, he still listened to her and went to kill the people who were chasing after them. Then he came back with the dumbfounded child. "You only know how to bully little Yao Yao," Sima Yue said helplessly. Every time she provoked Wu Qiao or asked him to do something and he was unhappy, she would say that. Then Wu Qiao, who had a bad temper, would completely lose his temper. "When did I bully him?" Wu Xiaodao stuck out his tongue. This child is so small." Sima Yue stared at the logo on the child's clothes and didn't say anything. Chapter 2252. The child was not very old, looking like he was only 8 years old. But the aura on his body and the brocade on his body did not seem like someone who lived in the village. The little child did not seem to be surprised by the chase, nor did he seem excited about surviving as if he was used to it. But Sima Yue could see the fear of death in his eyes. The little guy cupped his hands and bowed to her. Thank you. Who are you? Why are you here? Who is the person chasing you? Wu Xiaodao asked. The little fellow pursed his lips. Thank you for saving me today. If there is a chance in the future, I will definitely repay you. Goodbye. Saying this, he turned around to leave. Hey, little fellow, we saved you. Why are you still like this? Wu Xiaodao grabbed the clothes around his neck, not letting him go. They still had not asked him about this place. How could they let him go like this? This place was too strange. There were no spirit beasts or people. They did not dare to walk around casually, afraid of encountering unknown things. Now that they finally met someone, how could they let him go like this? The little fellow's clothes were grabbed. He struggled twice, but seeing that it was useless, his aura became heavy. He turned around to attack Wu Xiaodao. Wu Xiaodao grabbed his hand, saying, Little fellow, you repay kindness with enmity. If I repay kindness with enmity, I will not leave you. The little fellow coldly said, It is dangerous to follow me. I don't want to implicate you. Oh little fellow, you have a big temper. Wu Xiaodao let him go. You are just a little fellow without a guard by your side and someone is chasing you. Can you leave here alive? Aren't you going to die like this? The little fellow bit his lips. As long as I can leave here alive, I will not be in danger for the time being. Then can you leave here alive? Wu Qiao asked. The little fellow was silent, not answering. Leave here alive? He was alone. Was it possible? What is your name? Sima Yue asked. Kanan Dan. Kanan? Sima Yue squatted down, straightening his clothes, looking at the leaf symbol on the corner, asking, Do you know Kanan Xan? You know my big brother? Kanan Dan raised her head and looked at her in surprise. Then she took 2 steps back warily. Who are you? Are you here to kill me as well? Wu Xiaodao knocked on his head. Are you stupid? If we wanted to kill you, why would we save you just now? Sima Yue knew that he was being cautious, but a child was still a child. He showed it the moment she asked. Kanan Hart and I are from the same sect, she explained. So you don't have to be afraid. Kanan Dan stared at her for a while. Suddenly she seemed to have realized something. You're Sima Yue, aren't you? Sima Yue raised her eyebrows. You know? Are you really Sima Yue? Kanan Dan's face flashed with joy. I heard from Big Brother that he had a very powerful friend at the place where he was studying. He said that she would come to the divine territory. You're the only girl who can make Big Brother praise, so it's definitely you. You have a good relationship with your brother? Why are you being hunted down? Where is Kanan's heart? Where is this place? Wu Xiaodao asked a series of questions. I was born with Big Brother taking care of me. This time he went out to do something. I heard that he was in danger, so I brought people over. I didn't think that I would fall into the enemy's trap. As for the people who want to kill me, I don't know who they are. You have a lot of enemies? There are many people who don't like Big Brother. They know about my relationship with Big Brother and want to make a move on me. Kanan Dan's voice became softer as he spoke. He knew where he went wrong this time. Since he knew that many people would make a move on him, he still hurriedly brought people over. Sima Yue did not blame him. She did not have such thoughts, nor was she in a position to do so. She asked, Do you know where this is? We've walked for a long time and we haven't seen a single spirit beast or a single person. Do you know why? This is a forbidden area. Everyone here has been chased away. If you're discovered, you'll lose your life. Kanan Dan said. If it wasn't for the fact that he had no other choice, his guards wouldn't have brought him to this place. Forbidden area? What forbidden area? Wu Qiao asked. Tao Tai Palace's forbidden area. Don't you know? After Kanan Dan finished speaking, he felt that it wasn't right. He rubbed the back of his head and said, You just came to God Domain. It's normal that you don't know. I don't know what they found here. Tao Tai Palace's people marked this place as their forbidden area and chased away all the people and beasts here. Normally, no one is allowed to enter this place. If you're discovered, you'll be chased by Tao Tai Palace. Tao Tai Palace? Is it very powerful? Wu Xiaodao asked. Of course. This is the most powerful faction in God Domain. Because they have Tao Tai overseeing it. It's very powerful. Thinking about Tao Tai Palace's methods and thinking about how he came here, he was so scared that he shivered. Tao Tai Palace? Sima Yue raised her brows. If she didn't remember wrongly, Tao Tai was one of the 4 ancient fierce beasts, right? Crimson Flame and the others were divine beasts. Only the 4 ancient fierce beasts could injure and kill the 4 of them. Could it be that Tao Tai Palace was also involved? Tao Tai? Then does God Domain have Cheongqi Palace and Primal Chaos Palace? Wu Xiaodao asked. That's right. Right now, God Domain can be said to be ruled by 4 palaces. They are all very fierce. If they know that we came in, we definitely won't be able to live. Let's leave quickly. Jia Nanxin said anxiously. Do you know how to get out? Sima Yue asked. Jia Nanxin's face turned red and said softly, I was brought here by the guards in a panic. I don't know how far we ran and we used a one-time teleportation array, so I don't know where we are now. Sima Yue and the others were speechless. Seeing how he was so anxious before, they thought that he knew how to get out. Looks like we can only guess. Sima Yue sighed. Do you know which direction you came from? I don't know. Jia Nanxin shook his head. Was it morning or afternoon when you came in? Was the sun in front of you or behind you? When she asked this, Jia Nanxin understood and replied, when we came in, the sun had already set. However, I remember that we kept running forward. Before the sun set, it was behind us. So you're saying that you ran from west to east? Sima Yue raised her head and looked at the sun. Then let's go west. Maybe we'll be lucky and get out. Mother, why do you think Tao Tai Palace made this place a forbidden area? Do you think there are any treasures here? Wu Xiaodao went up and held Sima Yue's hand and said excitedly. Chapter 2253. Wu Qiao wanted to say that she was not fated to have any treasures, so why was she so excited? But he was afraid of hurting her, so he swallowed his words. Previously, she and Wu Xiaodao had gone on an adventure together. As if to verify her fate, Ming had brought them to a treasured land. In the end, just as Ming had said, everyone else had obtained treasures, but she had returned empty-handed. Actually, she was not empty-handed. She had brought back a rusty dagger that was completely useless. She had insisted on Wu Qiao polishing it for her. Wu Qiao did not tell her that the dagger had broken into 2 when he was polishing it. He had given her something else that he had prepared for himself. So now, when Wu Xiaodao mentioned treasures, he would think of her fate. And she did not seem to care about it at all. There are no treasures here. Kanan Dan said, breaking Wu Xiaodao's fantasy. Little guy, how do you know there aren't any? Wu Xiaodao reached out and pinched his nose. Because this place has been searched from head to toe. If there were any treasures, they would have taken them away long ago. Kanan Dan leaned back, avoiding her claws. That seems to make sense. Wu Xiaodao could not pinch his nose, so she reached out to touch his head. But have you thought about it? If there are no treasures here, why would they treat this place as a forbidden area? Isn't it because there are treasures that have not been found yet? Kanan Dan was startled. What she said seemed to make more sense. Even if there really are treasures here, they have not found them with so many people. This means that it is not easy to find. Let's leave this place first. Otherwise, if we are discovered, it will cause more trouble. Wu Qiao said. Wu Xiaodao also knew that what he said made sense, so she did not dwell on the matter of treasures. Sima Yue had not said much since she brought them out. Unlike before, she did everything by herself. Now, she was more inclined to let the 2 children make the decisions. This was a way to train the 2 children. They were still young and she could not be with them all the time in the future. Letting them be independent was really for their sake. The 3 of them flew west with Kanan Dan. On the way they met a few patrolling people who were all killed by Sima Yue. These people were not the guards who had chased after Kanan Dan. They were much stronger. They could not make too much noise and could only do it themselves. The further we go, the more people are patrolling. Wu Xiaodao came to Sima Yue's side and skillfully removed the corpses on the ground. Yes, the exit is not far away. We have to be careful, Sima Yue replied. Mother, it's not good for us to bring him out like this. After Wu Xiaodao finished speaking, he sneakily glanced at Kanan Dan. Kanan Dan was creeped out by her gaze. Before she could say anything, she felt dizzy and fell straight to the ground. Just as he was about to hit the ground, Wu Qiao caught him. His movements are really fast. Wu Xiaodao curled his lips. Wu Qiao's temperament was just like that. He would attack immediately. Sima Yue placed Kanan Dan into the spirit pagoda and continued to fly forward with Wu Xiaodao and Wu Qiao. The 3 of them all knew how to hide their presence. In this aspect, the 2 children had inherited her teachings. But with Kanan Dan it was different. He was still young and looked like he had just started cultivating. The last 2 times, it was because of his presence that people had been attracted. Someone is coming. Sima Yue said to the 2 children. The 3 of them found a big tree to hide in and hid their presence. Soon, there were sounds coming from not far away, accompanied by the sound of conversation. There was a battle here just now. Someone must have broken in. But I didn't see anyone. Let's search carefully. We must be careful. There can't be any problems. Otherwise, when the higher-ups ask about it, we won't be able to bear the consequences. Boss, you are too nervous. Although there is something here that is related to advancement, we haven't found anything after searching for so long. There must be nothing here. Yes, boss. We have searched this place twice and didn't find anything. Is there really a treasure here? How can the ancient sacred fire order's reaction be wrong? All right. Don't ask so much. Don't you know that the more you know, the faster you die? Search this place. Those few people were scolded and laughed. When they were about to search other places, they suddenly felt a chill on their necks. In a breath's time, their necks were all slit. They looked at each other, not knowing what had happened. But they didn't have the brains to think. In the next second, they all fell to the ground. Mother, this move of yours is powerful. Can you teach me? Wu Xiaodao came down from the tree and said with a smile. Sure. You have to be able to understand space first. Then you can learn teleportation. I will teach you this move. Sima Yue said. Mother, you just don't want to teach me how to kill people. Wu Xiaodao curled his lips and ran to destroy the corpses. Sima Yue didn't reply to him. She looked at the corpses thoughtfully. Mother, are you thinking about the ancient sacred fire order? Wu Qiao asked. I think I know what the treasure they are talking about is. Sima Yue said. Mother, what is it? Wu Xiaodao's eyes lit up. It's not what you think. I think the thing here should be related to the primal chaos aura. Sima Yue said. The most special thing about the ancient sacred fire order was the primal chaos aura. Anything that could cause it to react would most likely be related to it. Then let's go and snatch that thing. Wu Qiao raised his eyebrows. Sima Yue smiled but didn't say anything. Her son understood her as expected. She released the primal chaos aura. Then she released her mental energy to sense it. She really sensed a trace of aura. She opened her eyes and smiled. Let's go. Tao Tai Palace's treasure pavilion suddenly released a dazzling light. It was especially dazzling in this dark night. Not only Tao Tai Palace, even the people outside saw it. What is this situation? What kind of light is that? It's coming from the treasure pavilion. The ancient sacred fire order. What? Other than that time, the ancient sacred fire order didn't react at all. Even the last time, it didn't have such a strong reaction. Could it be that something happened in the Forbidden Grounds? Quick, let's go to the Forbidden Grounds to take a look. A group of people excitedly rushed from Tao Tai Palace to the Forbidden Grounds. They thought that they would be able to find that treasure this time. This was the key to unlocking the ancient sacred fire order. They might be able to find it if they went now. However, when they arrived, they only saw a pit. The soil beside the pit was freshly dug up. It was incomparably fresh. The remnant primal chaos aura inside seemed to be mocking them for returning empty-handed after so long. Go and investigate. You must find that person and tear him to shreds. Chapter 2254. Kanan Dan only had one thought before he fainted. Are these people bad people? This thought remained the moment he woke up. He opened his eyes and saw the blue sky and Wu Xiaodao's playful eyes. He blinked his eyes. Was he awake? Wu Xiaodao saw that he was still confused and said, You haven't woken up yet? Kanan Dan remembered what happened before and sat up from the ground and looked around. He was still in the wilderness and there were only the three of them. He wasn't tied up. You didn't want to catch me? He asked in surprise. Why would we want to catch you? Wu Xiaodao reached out to pinch his face and said, It's just a bit troublesome to bring you out. We need you to be quiet so we let you sleep. Kanan Dan felt that they didn't need to lie to him. If they wanted to catch him with their strength, they didn't need to do anything else. He stood up and patted the dust off his clothes and asked, We're out of the forbidden zone? Yes. So you're safe for now. Wu Xiaodao said. Kanan Dan had already guessed it, but when he heard that it was safe, he was surprised. He knew how strong Tao Tai Palace was. He thought that Sima Yue was just saying it and didn't really have any hope. He didn't think that they would really bring him out. He was stunned for a moment and bowed to them. Thank you for saving my life. Get up, get up. You're so young and you're like an old man. Wu Xiaodao picked him up and looked at Sima Yue. Mother, what do we do next? Sima Yue was silent for a moment and said, Since we're out, let's send him back to Canaan Xan. She didn't plan to find Canaan Xan, but now that she met her brother, she couldn't just leave the little guy alone. Do you know where your brother is? Sima Yue asked. Kanan Dan's eyes lit up. I know. Then he thought of something and the light in his eyes fell back. I appreciate your kindness, but it's very dangerous to follow me. You'd better send me to a nearby city. I just need to contact my brother and he'll send someone to pick me up. At such a young age you think quite a lot. Wu Xiaodao smiled. Don't worry, if we didn't have any strength, would we dare to bring you along? We were able to come out of the Taotai Palace's forbidden grounds unscathed. Could it be that the people chasing after you are stronger than the people from the Taotai Palace? No. Kanan Dan shook his head. That's it. Tell me where your big brother is. We'll go and find him. Okay. Let's go then. Sister, you guys are so nice. Wu Qiao shook his head. Wu Xiaodao didn't insist on giving it to him out of kindness. It was entirely because she wanted to experience the feeling of being hunted down. Sima Yue also knew Wu Xiaodao's thoughts, but she didn't care. If her children wanted to play, then let them play. Anyway, there were people protecting them. Although she didn't see those people that dark scent, once the two little guys were in danger, they would definitely come out immediately. However, Kanan Dan did not know where Kanan Xian was. He only knew where Kanan Xian was before he left. Thus, they could only go to the place where Kanan Xian was before. However, this way the journey would not be peaceful. They didn't go far before they met the first wave of people chasing after them. At first, Kanan Dan was very worried. There were more than 10 people and they only had 3 people. Soon he knew that his worries were unnecessary. Although Wu Xiaodao and Wu Qiao were not very strong, Sima Yue was very good at killing people. Moreover, she had very powerful beasts. When those beasts came out, those people were killed in a few moves. When Sima Yue came back from killing people, he couldn't help but take a few more glances at her. She didn't talk much and didn't make many decisions. Whether to leave or stay, it was all up to Wu Qiao and Wu Xiaodao. She looked very gentle, who knew that she was so powerful. Thinking about it, she and Big Brother were from the same sect. If she wasn't powerful, how could they be from the same sect? Big Brother said that those who could enter their sect were very powerful. A few days later they met the second wave of people chasing after them. There were more people than the last time. Kanan Dan was worried again. In the end, Sima Yue took care of them again. When the third wave of people came, he was already very calm. With her around, there was no need to worry about these small shrimps. No wonder they weren't worried at all. She was really powerful. With them around, he would definitely be able to find Big Brother safely. Because they had been rushing for several days, Sima Yue was afraid that Kanan Dan wouldn't be able to hold on. When they came to a city, she brought them into the city to find an inn to rest. Innkeeper, we want 2 guest rooms. Sima Yue said. Okay. The innkeeper took the money and gave them the keys to 2 rooms. When they took the keys and were about to go upstairs, a few people wearing black robes walked in from outside. Move, move. Those few people pushed the people in front of the counter and came to the counter. They stared at the innkeeper fiercely. When the innkeeper saw these people, he was so scared that his legs turned to jelly. He smiled flatteringly and said, Sirs, why are you here? Have you seen anyone suspicious recently? One of them asked. No, we have been paying attention since you came last time. We didn't see anyone suspicious. The innkeeper said. Those few people gave a few words of advice and sized up the people in the inn. After confirming that there was no one suspicious, they left with their people. Sima Yue stood behind the crowd and glanced at those people. When she saw the golden embroidered spirit beasts on their clothes, she knew their identities. People from Taotai Palace. Could it be that the person they were looking for was her? Taotai Palace is really making a big commotion this time. When the people from Taotai Palace left, the people in the inn started to discuss. That's for sure. The reaction from the ancient sacred flame insignia was so big and Taotai Palace lost their treasure. How could they not be anxious to find it back? I heard that the ancient sacred flame insignia didn't react at all recently. This treasure probably can't be found. Lower your voice. If you gloat like this, be careful that we don't catch you. Sirs, please follow me. The waiter brought them upstairs. Sima Yue followed behind the waiter and went upstairs. She thought about what those people said just now. She didn't pay attention when Jia Nandan mentioned it previously. Now that these people mentioned that the ancient sacred flame insignia was in Taotai Palace, she clearly gave the ancient sacred flame insignia to the Dark Dragon Guard. Why did it appear in Taotai Palace now? Could it be that Shenxiu he gave it to them? She thought that it was not possible. If the Dark Dragon Guard didn't care about this, why would they spend so much effort to find it? Chapter 2255. Sima Yue let Wu Qiao and Kanan Dan stay in one room, while she and Wu Xiaodao chose the other. Mother, from what those people said, it seems like when we got the treasure, the ancient sacred flame insignia had a huge reaction. Wu Xiaodao said, "This should be related to your aura." Sima Yue took out a milky white bead and gave it to her. The chaos aura in this is not strong, so it only caused the ancient sacred flame insignia to react. The chaos aura that she released that day was the reason why the ancient sacred flame insignia went crazy. And that milky white bead was not a treasure, it just happened to contain chaos aura. Wu Xiaodao rolled the bead around on the table and said, "Mother, is this chaos world really that powerful?" The chaos world gives birth to life. It is the origin of all life. Since it can give birth to life, it means that it is more powerful than other worlds. But this is only my speculation. Sima Yue explained. I think what Mother said makes sense. Other places can't do it, only this place can. It means that it is different from the rest. It's a pity that we can't see what it's like inside. Wu Xiaodao said regretfully. Maybe there will be a chance in the future. Sima Yue comforted her. Mother, do you have a way to take us there? Wu Xiaodao looked at her with sparkling eyes. Sima Yue shook her head. How could I have a way? I just think that since people can live there, maybe they can do it in the future. So it's like this, I thought Mother had a way. Wu Xiaodao was a little discouraged. No one has been there for hundreds of thousands of years, this idea can only be an idea. Sima Yue saw her disappointment and smiled as she poked her head. Mother is not omnipotent. In my eyes, Mother is omnipotent. Wu Xiaodao held her arm and leaned her head on her shoulder, giggling as she said, Since I was young, I thought that Mother is omnipotent, and in the future Mother will also be omnipotent. Shouldn't Mother thank you for your unconditional trust? Sima Yue smiled. Hee. They rested at the inn for the night and continued their journey the next morning. After encountering a few waves of pursuers, Kanan Dan disappeared from everyone's sight. The Kanan family was the most anxious. They had already sent people to pick up the young master, but he had gone missing. If something happened to him, how were they going to explain it to their family? The pursuers were confused as well. According to their plan, Kanan Dan should not have disappeared from their sight. Now that he was gone, their plan to use him to attack Kanan's heart could not be carried out. Kanan Xian also knew about Kanan Dan. She wanted to find him but she couldn't leave, because he himself was in danger. Kanan Dan did not know that his family and his pursuers were looking for him. At this time he was discussing with Wu Xiaodao whether he could not be so ugly next time. He was obviously a little kid, but Wu Xiaodao made him look like an old man. And an old man with dwarfism. That's what you call catching people by surprise. Who would think that you're that little kid? You're also very cute like this. Wu Xiaodao glanced at the wrinkled skin on Kanan Dan's face and arms. He smiled and said, You see, we haven't been chased for the past few days, right? Then, all right. Kanan Dan thought about how peaceful the past few days were and could only accept it. Be good, wait until we find your brother. Wu Xiaodao wanted to experience the joy of being chased, but after too many times she became impatient. So she thought of a way to change his appearance. In addition, no one had seen the three of them before, so no one recognized them along the way. They brought Kanan Dan to the city he mentioned. But they received news that Kanan Xian was no longer here and had gone to a nearby plain. It was said that there was a treasure there. Many people went there. Treasure. Wu Xiaodao looked at Sima Yue and said, Mother, since we brought Kanan Dan to this place, then let's be good to the end and send him to his brother. If you want to go, then you can go. I'm old and I won't join in. Kanan Dan is still young and there are many people there. It's dangerous, so don't go. Stay here with me and wait for you to come back. Sima Yue wanted to train the two children and planned to let them experience it themselves. We'll go by ourselves? Sima Yue nodded. Just the two of you. Little Yao Yao, you have to take good care of Xiaodao, okay? Xiaodao, you're not allowed to cause trouble. You have to listen to little Yao Yao, okay? Wu Xiaodao nodded and promised, Mother, don't worry. I'll protect little brother. Wu Qiao, who was protecting who when they went out? Wu Qiao and Wu Xiaodao left. Sima Yue let me air and little black go with them. She stayed at the inn with Kanan Dan. Aren't you worried about them? Kanan Dan saw that she was still in the mood to read and sat beside her. I'm worried. If you're worried, then why did you let them go by themselves? Why didn't you let them go by themselves? Sima Yue saw his round eyes and serious appearance. She thought of Wu Qiao when he was young. She reached out and patted his head, saying, I can't always accompany them. There will always be a time when I let them do things on their own. Besides, didn't I let my contracted beast go with them? They will tell me if there's danger. Kanan Dan wanted to tell her that she wouldn't be able to rush over in time. But seeing how calm she was, she swallowed her words. She might have a plan. Are you hungry? Let's eat this first. Sima Yu placed a plate of spirit fruits on the table and continued to read. Kanan Dan glanced at her and picked up a spirit fruit to eat. Wu Xiaodao and Wu Qiao followed the crowd to the place where the treasure was. With these people around, they didn't have to worry about not being able to find the way. Wu Xiaodao and Wu Qiao walked slowly. Along the way many people passed them. Seeing that they were just the two of them, they couldn't help but take a few more glances. With such strength they dared to snatch the treasure from everyone? Were they sure they weren't going to die? Wu Xiaodao wanted to argue with them, but was stopped by Wu Qiao. These people are too much. If I don't take care of them, I won't be able to vent the anger in my heart. Wu Xiaodao said angrily. This is a good thing. What are you angry about? The more others look down on us, the less attention we will attract if we go there. If there really is a treasure, it will be easier for us to snatch it. Wu Qiao comforted her. What you said makes a lot of sense. Humph, those fellows are just waiting for me to snatch the treasure and blind their dog eyes. Wu Qiao didn't reply. To her this was just a thought. Chapter 2256. Dear God Mountain was not a famous mountain range before, but it was very lively recently because there was a treasure light here. There must be some treasure that was about to appear. Because the treasure light appeared at night, many people saw it. This news could not be hidden, so the news of a treasure appearing at Dear God Mountain spread like wildfire. Not only that, less than a month after this news spread, there was another news. Dear God Mountain had the almighty Lu Xing's grave. If it was said that those people were not that enthusiastic about the treasure hunt at Dear God Mountain before, now that this news came out, the entire divine realm was boiling. For hundreds of thousands of years, there had not been any almighty in the divine realm. Even if they were more loved by the heavens than the people of the lower continents, they could only advance to the emperor level. There was not a single almighty above that. So, the heavens did not only change the lower continents but they were also affected. Now that they found the almighty's grave, they might be able to obtain some useful information. Who knows, they might be able to find a way to break the shackles of the heavens. Dear God Mountain became a place that everyone in the divine realm rushed to like a flock of ducks. When Wu Xiaodao and Wu Qiao arrived, those people had not found the almighty's grave yet, but they were all heading towards the center of Dear God Mountain. It was said that there was already some progress, and now many people were rushing towards that place. Wu Xiaodao and Wu Qiao followed the crowd and flew over. Wu Qiao sized up the surroundings and said, "This is not the almighty's grave." What did you see? Wu Xiaodao glanced over and did not see anything. The feng shui here is not bad, but for a grave, it is a place of great danger. Wu Qiao said with certainty. You're at the entry level of spirit seeking? Wu Xiaodao asked. Yes, mother taught me before. Uncle Ming also taught me a bit. Wu Qiao replied. Uncle Ming taught you? Did he teach you something bad again? Wu Xiaodao knew dark too well. It's not bad. Wu Qiao said, but there are so many people here, it's good for us to see more. Then let's go. The two little guys continued forward, not noticing that the space behind them moved, and Sima Yue walked out. If it was just a simple treasure hunt before, then she had nothing to worry about. However, he didn't expect that this place would become the graveyard of a powerful being, and that so many powerful people would come. She couldn't sit still when she heard the news. She knocked Kanan unconscious, threw him into the spirit pagoda, and came over. She didn't expect to hear the two little fellows talking. Wu Qiao was right. The feng shui here was good, but for a cemetery, it was a place of great danger. However, Wu Qiao was only 14 or 15 years old, and he hadn't been in contact with the Seeker's origin for long. Only the Nether sect would be able to determine that there wasn't a graveyard here. The way Ming taught the two children was very different. Wu Xiaodao was lively, curious about everything, and considerate, which just happened to iron his heart, so he followed her in everything and spoiled her to the point of lawlessness. Fortunately, she was not very troublesome and was very obedient in her place. Other than being a little wild, her heart was still good. She did not restrain Xiaodao much. As for Wu Qiao, he had always been dull since he was a child, so Ming always taught him some different things. For example, when he learned that Wu Qiao had learned how to search for spirits from Yue, he would teach him about the feng shui of graves. Sima Yue knew that he hoped that Wu Qiao would go tomb raiding in the future. No matter what he taught, Wu Qiao learned it in a few moments. However, it was useless. His personality was still the same and hadn't changed at all. Now that she was here, she couldn't ignore the two children. However, she also wanted the two little fellows to continue their training, so she called Qian Yun out and changed her appearance after fusing. She restrained her aura and followed them into the mountain. She saw that Wu Xiaodao was curious about everything. She pulled Wu Qiao's hand and went here and there. Although Wu Qiao was not interested, he still followed her everywhere. When she was close to them, the distance between them was less than 10 meters. She suddenly felt that it was not bad to look at the two little fellows like this. When Wu Qiao looked back at her for the second time and frowned slightly, she found a place where there was no one and changed her appearance. This sensitive little fellow. She smiled and continued to follow. Little Yao Yao, do you think there is really a powerful mausoleum here? We have already met a few monarchs. Wu Xiaodao pulled Wu Qiao to the center of Dear God Mountain and met a few monarchs on the way. Although they had restrained their auras, they could deceive others, but they couldn't deceive these two. Probably. Wu Qiao replied. Mother said that when great-grandfather advanced to monarch, he was almost killed by the heavenly Tao. There are so many monarchs here. The heavenly Tao is indeed biased. Wu Xiaodao ridiculed. Since this is the divine domain, there are naturally many other advantages. Wu Qiao analyzed. Many of the people living here have ancient bloodlines. I think those few monarchs are not ordinary people. Perhaps their bloodlines gave them some advantage when they advanced to monarch. The possibility of what you said is very high. How about this? Let's find two monarchs to study. Wu Xiaodao's eyes lit up when he said this. With our strength? Or the two of them? Wu Qiao shook his arm. There was a black ring on his and Wu Xiaodao's hands. It was me air and little black. Besides, mother came here for something. What if we caused trouble for her? Hearing that they would cause trouble for Sima Yuiwei, Wu Xiaodao suppressed this idea. If the two of them caused trouble, they could just go back to the underworld. However, mother was here to meet a friend. Furthermore, Qi Yen and the others' matter had to be settled. They could not drag her down. Then let's go treasure hunting. She was like this. Once she thought it through, she would not be entangled. Instead, she asked, Little Yao Yao, since you know that this is not the real Almighty's mausoleum, can you use the spirit-seeking method to find other places? I don't know. I have only just started searching for spirits. Wu Qiao said. The only reason he knew that the place they were surrounding was not a tomb was because Ming had told him about this situation. He did not know much about spirit-seeking. What did you say? This is not the Almighty's mausoleum? A sharp voice came from behind a big tree. Following that, a short man with twisted facial features walked out from behind the tree. He stared closely at Wu Xiaodao and Wu Qiao. The monarch's aura rushed over, causing the surrounding people to be unable to breathe. You said that there is no Almighty's mausoleum here. Is that true? Chapter 2257. The little old man's voice was very sharp, a bit like the sound of an electric drill. It made people's hair stand on end. Coupled with his appearance, he looked very scary. He released a little of his emperor's power, and the people around him bowed slightly. But this didn't include the two of them. The little old man's sharp eyes stared at Wu Qiao and Wu Xiaodao. His eyes narrowed slightly. They were just two god-level people, but their expressions didn't change under his emperor's pressure. Wu Xiaodao felt a bit unlucky. He just said that he wanted to catch two emperors to study, and now he immediately ran into them. And from the other party's appearance, it was obvious that he heard what they just said. As for his emperor's pressure, she didn't feel it at all. She and Wu Qiao had long been used to this. I'm asking you. You just said that there is no almighty tomb here, is that true? The little old man asked again. Yes. Wu Qiao replied. Why are you so sure? The little old man sized him up. He was young, but his ability was not small. Not only did he know that this was not the tomb of Almighty, he also ignored his pressure. He didn't know which family's young master ran out. With this thought in mind, he withdrew his pressure. Wu Qiao didn't hide it. He analyzed the terrain of the central area of Dear God Mountain and continued, with this kind of feng shui, an Almighty wouldn't choose this place. After the little old man heard this, he didn't say anything. His sharp eyes looked at him as if to distinguish whether his words were true or false. Wu Qiao was not anxious, nor was he afraid. He let him size him up. After nearly a minute, the little old man said, Since you are so sure, then you know where this tomb is? I don't know. I know this by chance. I didn't analyze it myself. As for whether there is an almighty tomb here, I really don't know. Wu Qiao said honestly. Obviously, the little old man didn't believe him. He looked around. The people who were watching the show all fled in fear. Soon only the three of them were left. You said that there is no almighty tomb here. I believe that. Now what you need to do is to find the almighty tomb on Dear God Mountain. Why? Wu Xiaodao touched the black ring on his hand, thinking about when to call them out. Based on the fact that your little lives are now in my hands. The little old man snorted coldly. If you can find them, you'll live. If you can't find it, I'm afraid the two of you will become fertilizer in this Dear God Mountain. Are you threatening us? Wu Xiaodao raised her eyebrows. She had never been threatened before. This was the first time he felt that it was quite refreshing. However, now was not the time to show her excitement. She paused and her small face sank. What if there's nothing here? Do you think we can conjure one up for you? There is definitely one here. However, it is indeed as you said. It is not at the center of the mountain range. The little old man said resolutely and decisively. It seemed that he had something to rely on. When the little old man saw the understanding look on their faces, he didn't explain too much. He did have reliable information that there was a mausoleum of a mighty figure on Mount Deer. At first, like everyone else, he thought that he was in the center of the life vein. However, after searching for a few months in the center and carefully comparing the information in his hands, he rejected this idea. Dear God Mountain was very large and the mausoleum was buried underground. He didn't know where it was. In order to obtain some information, he deliberately made some movements here and then spread the news of the mausoleum. This was to attract more people to come and see if anyone could find anything. He didn't expect that after waiting for so long, those people who came only circled around the center of the mountain range and didn't find anything else. Just as he was reflecting on the inappropriateness of his actions under a big tree, he overheard the conversation between the two. He didn't expect that although the two of them looked very young, they would be able to reveal the secret of the mausoleum. Since this person could see that the mausoleum wasn't here, then he could discover the true location of the mausoleum. Moreover, these two people's strength wasn't high and they didn't have any powerful people following them. It would be easy to control them. If they wanted to resist, it would be easy to kill them. The news that the mausoleum wasn't in the center of the mountain range must not be spread out. Wu Qiao never showed a trace of panic. He pulled Wu Xiaodao behind him and calmly looked at the little old man and said, "You plan to either let us find the mausoleum for you or kill us, right? You're young but you know a lot." The little old man laughed strangely. "You're right. You only have these two paths to take now. If you insist that you don't know, then I can only make you keep this a secret forever." With that, he stared at the two people with killing intent, as if he wanted to kill them if they said they didn't know. Wu Qiao hesitated for 2 seconds and nodded. "I'll take you to find it." The little old man wasn't surprised by his decision. His figure flashed and appeared behind the two people like a ghost. He grabbed one with each hand and disappeared from the spot. Sima Yue sat on the branch of the tree where the little old man appeared. If the little old man was here, he would be shocked. There was actually someone who could be so close to him and he didn't even notice. Sima Yue called Little Roar out. Before she could open her mouth, Little Roar anxiously said, "Yu, the two children have been taken away. Why are you still sitting here leisurely?" "Don't worry, their lives won't be in danger for now." Sima Yue wasn't worried at all. Since the person just now wanted to capture them to find the mausoleum, he wouldn't change his mind so quickly. Even if it was a seeker spirit master like her, finding the mausoleum wasn't something that could be done in a short period of time. So the little old man would give them some time. And seeing Wu Xiaodao's eagerness to fight, she was afraid that he was still immersed in the fresh experience of being kidnapped. He hadn't experienced enough yet. If she, as his mother, went to save him, he would be unhappy. Even Wu Qiao didn't show any signs of fear. That calm look made her curious as to how he was going to find the mausoleum with the little old man. Little Roar understood her meaning and didn't bother about it. He asked, "Yu, is there really an almighty mausoleum here?" "That's the reason why I called you out." Sima Yue rubbed his body twice and said, "You're usually the best at talking. This time, I'll have to trouble you to ask the spirit beasts in the mountain if there's anything special about this Dear God Mountain." Chapter 2258. When Little Roar heard this, he immediately became spirited and said, "That's easy. However, it's too dangerous for me to go alone. Let Little Dream, Hua Hua and Little Seven follow me." Sima Yue nodded. She knew that he would bring it up. However, it was indeed dangerous here. It would be safer with a few more people. Let Little Dream and Hua Hua go with you. Forget about Little Seven. She didn't understand the people in the divine territory. If Little Seven's identity was discovered, she would be in danger. When Little Seven heard this, she protested in the spirit pagoda. How could she not participate in such a fun thing? After her protest, Yue still allowed her to go. However, because Little Seven was going, she let Little Fire follow. She didn't know what Ming did to Little Fire in the underworld. After bringing him out for a few years, he became a fiery red-haired 3 or 4-year-old child. Ming said that his strength increased by a lot. She hadn't seen it with her own eyes. However, since he could transform, he shouldn't be weak. With him following, he could resist for a while if anything happened. However, this way she would have to worry about the 2 children and pay more attention to Little Seven. The beasts left excitedly. Sima Yue sat on the tree for a while. She sensed Wu Xiaodao's position and was about to chase after them when a group of people ran over. Seeing the people, Sima Yue's disappearing figure became clear again. If anyone saw this scene, they would be shocked. There were actually people in this world who could enter and exit space at will and not be hurt. Furthermore, there was no movement at all. However, the people below didn't notice that there was someone on the tree. A group of people surrounded Jia Nanxin and his guards. Jia Nanxin was injured and the other person was heavily injured. The people surrounding them were also in a sorry state. It seemed that they had gone through a fierce battle. Jia Nanxin, you have nowhere to run today. You should obediently surrender. One of them shouted, if you insist on resisting, then this day next year will be your death anniversary. Those people didn't hide anything. It seemed that they didn't mind letting her know their identities. Sima Yue thought of the people chasing after Jia Nanxin. Jia Nanxin did not show any fear on her face, but there was still some unwillingness in her eyes. If he really died here today, he didn't know if his family would be able to survive this crisis. As for little Dan, he didn't know where he was or if he could grow up well. No, he couldn't die. He gripped the artifact in his hand tightly. He had to find a way to leave this place alive. Master, I'll hold them back for a while. You take the opportunity to escape. The person who was with Kanan Xian said softly. No, you can't do that. Jia Nanxin pulled him back and stopped him. Both of them were running out of spiritual energy and there were so many of them. There was only one way to stop them, and that was to self-detonate. He couldn't trade someone else's life for his own. That person wanted to say something, but when he saw Kanan's determined gaze, he fell silent again. Even if she didn't let him say it now, he would still do it when they started fighting later. Looks like you don't want to surrender. The other party didn't have much patience. The order they received was to capture him alive if they could. If he insisted on resisting, it didn't matter even if he died. They had been chasing Kanan Xian for a few days now, and they had lost a lot of people. They thought they could kill him every time, but he escaped every time. This time they had lost so many people to force him to this point. No matter what, they had to get rid of him today. Both parties started fighting again. Kanan Xian and that person were already running out of spiritual energy, and now they had only recovered a little. They were running out of energy after using 2 spiritual techniques. Seeing that they were about to be killed, the person beside Kanan Xian kept his artifact and started to reverse the flow of spiritual energy. Kanan Xian noticed his actions and rushed over to interrupt him. Stop! I said, you're not allowed to take this step. Young master, be careful. A spiritual technique flew over while he was rushing over. Kanan Xian and that person didn't have the strength to block it. If it hit them, they would definitely die. Young master, be careful. Kanan Xian's back was facing those people, but the other person was facing them. When he saw the spiritual technique flying over, he instinctively pulled Kanan Xian behind him and put himself in front. Kanan Xian immediately understood, but he couldn't let him stand in front of him to block the attack. His injuries were much more serious than his. If he was hit directly, he would definitely die. At the last moment, he moved his body and used the last of his strength to switch their bodies. At this moment, the energy was already in front of him. The pain that he expected didn't appear. Not only was there no pain, he didn't even feel anything. When the spiritual technique dissipated, the 2 of them were still standing in their original positions. They didn't die? Kanan Xian was stunned and immediately reacted. They must have been saved by someone. But there was no one around. Who saved them? The people on the other side immediately became alert. Someone could actually save them silently. This meant that the other party wasn't weak. But at this moment, who would save them? Just as both sides were shocked, one of the people on the other side suddenly shouted, "There's someone on the tree." Everyone looked up and saw a figure on the tree. Instantly everyone was shocked. When did this person appear here? Not a single one of them had noticed it. Kanan Xian was also very confused. He didn't know this person. Why did she save him? And from the way she looked at him, it was obvious that they knew each other. When did he know such a powerful person? Sima Yue sat on the tree. Looking at the shocked and frightened faces of the people below, she laughed in her heart. She was now a strong person in the eyes of others. It was a pity that most of these powers belonged to others. She just took advantage of them. I'll protect Kanan Xian's life. Do you want to leave on your own? Or do you want to stay and become fertilizer? She flicked her nails and said casually. Who is that person? The other party looked at her cautiously. Who is related to you? Do you think that you can beat me or what? She dragged out the last word, but it carried an inviolable aura. The people below were only Paragon rankers. It was easy for her to deal with them. Thinking about this, she sighed. Paragon rankers were not as common as cabbages in the divine realm, but there were still a lot of them. She didn't know if it was because of the environment here or their bloodline. Thinking about Wu Xiaodao's idea of bringing two people back to study, it wasn't impossible. Those people were a little hesitant. They didn't want to miss such a good opportunity, but they didn't dare to act rashly. Both sides were in a deadlock. Sima Yue saw that they weren't leaving. She said to Kanan Xen, "Do you want them alive?" Chapter 2259. Kanan Xen was startled, as if he did not expect her to ask for his opinion. Sima Yue raised her eyebrows and shook her head. No need. I know who they are. It was harder to kill them than to leave them alive. He was already very grateful that she was willing to save him. He did not want to cause any more trouble for her. Sima Yue had also guessed that he would do this. Since they came so openly, it meant that they knew each other and did not care about each other. Whether these people died or not, it did not affect Kanan Xian much. Then she disappeared from the tree. In just a few breaths, she appeared in front of Kanan Xian. When she stood still, the people behind her fell one after another. Killed with one slash. Kanan Xian looked at the corpses in shock. Everyone's neck had been slit, and it all happened in an instant. Are you all right? Kanan Xian was shocked when he saw the woman smiling at him. Although she looked different, he instinctively called out, Yue. This time, it was Sima Yue's turn to be shocked. She had changed her appearance, but he could still recognize her? Actually, Kanan Xian regretted calling out Sima Yue's name. How could he call out her name in front of someone else? They looked different. Who knew that the other party would smile after being startled for a while? Then, the lady he did not recognize immediately became the person he was familiar with. Seeing the two stunned people, Sima Yue raised her eyebrows. What, you don't recognize me after not seeing me for a few decades? Yue, it's really you? Kanan Xian came back to his senses and was pleasantly surprised. Why are you here? When did you come to the divine territory? Why didn't you look for us? I just came here not long ago. I just happened to encounter this situation, so I thought I'd come over to take a look. Sima Yue replied, How did you recognize me just now? I actually did not recognize you either. It's just that when you smiled just now, it made me think of you. Kanan Xian said, a little embarrassed. So that's how it is. I thought I wasn't good enough. Sima Yue recalled the 2 times Wu Qiao turned around to look at her. That guy was really sharp. Thank you for saving our lives today. If you didn't come, then Yanji and I would probably be unable to escape this calamity. Jianan said gratefully. However, I really never imagined that your strength would be so formidable now. Sima Yue didn't say that her strength came from someone else. She took out a bottle of pills and handed it to him. Both of you are injured. Take these pills first. Thank you. Jiananshin did not stand on ceremony. She took the pills and gave one to Yanji and one to herself. Only after the pills they felt Yue's Sima Yue and Yue. Let me show you. Sima Yue said. Kanan Xen Yue's S for a while. Yue to Yue and Yue Yun Yue. And then Yue's to Yue. Yue's Kanan Xen shook his head. No, I still have to save my little brother. His whereabouts are unknown. I was chased by these people. Now that they are dead, I have to find him. Are you talking about Kanan Dan? Sima Yue asked. You know my little brother? Kanan Xen looked at her in surprise. I know him. He was with me before. I made arrangements for him before we entered the mountain. Don't worry, he is absolutely safe. In the spirit pagoda, no one could find him. Wasn't it absolutely safe? Why are you with your little brother? Kanan Xen was shocked beyond words. He would never have thought that Kanan Dan would be with Sima Yue. Sima Yue told him how she met Kanan Dan and brought him to find her brother. She also said that it was too dangerous to enter the mountain. She could only leave him somewhere else and enter the mountain herself. It won't be too late for you to look for him after we leave. I'm sure he wouldn't want to see you injured. After Sima Yue finished speaking, Kanan XN took a step back and bowed to her solemnly. Yanji, who was behind him, bowed as well. Sima Yue went forward to help him up. What are you doing? It's just a small matter. A few years ago, my mother was set up when she was about to give birth. She passed away after giving birth to my little brother. Before she died, I promised my mother that I would take good care of him. When I heard that he was being chased that day, I wanted to save him. I didn't expect. Fortunately, I met you. If it wasn't for you, my little brother wouldn't be here anymore. I didn't have to trouble you to send him over from so far away, Kanan XN explained. We are from the same sect after all. Since you call me senior granduncle, it's only right for me to help you. Sima Yue joked. Besides, I just came to the divine territory and didn't know what to do. Sending him over would be good for him to catch up with you. Kanan XN knew that Sima Yue didn't want him to be too particular. Hence, he borrowed Sima Yue's strength to get up and ask some questions about the people who chased after them. Sima Yue told him about the few times they were chased after. She asked curiously, "Do you have many enemies?" Kanan XN was confused by her question. Sima Yue pointed at the people on the ground and said, "You should know who these people are, right?" Kanan XN nodded. "The people who chased after us are not from the same group as these people." Sima Yue said, "And they don't look like they are from the same group." Are you sure? It wasn't that Kanan XN didn't believe her, but this news really surprised him. I still have the ability to differentiate. Sima Yue said confidently. Young master, could it be? Yanji's injuries were still very serious and his words were weak. Kanan XN was catching up with his fellow sect member. He had been listening quietly and only spoke when he heard this. Kanan XN's aura sank. He didn't say anything and had the same thoughts as Yanji. Sima Yue didn't take the initiative to ask. She and Kanan XN were friends, but she didn't ask for help regarding his family matters. It wouldn't be good for her to ask too much. No matter what the situation is outside, you can't go out now. She reminded. I know. Kanan XN nodded. I'll send the news back first and let my family members investigate. Yanji and I will rest here for 2 days before we leave. You're not going to investigate the tomb of the powerful people here? Sima Yue was a little surprised. Didn't they say that they were here to look for treasures? We've been in the mountains for a long time, but we haven't found any treasures or tombs. Since there's nothing here, we won't waste our time here. Kanan XIN said. Then follow me for the next 2 days. If they were left here, it would be troublesome if they got into a conflict with someone. Anyway, the 2 children had never seen them before and wouldn't recognize them. Chapter 2260. Wu Xiaodao and Wu Qiao were brought over the mountains by the little old man. In order to find the mausoleum, the 3 of them had no choice but to walk. The little old man was a man of few words. Seeing that Wu Xiaodao was curious about everything, he did not say anything as he hopped around. It was just that his malicious gaze did not leave Wu Qiao's body. It could be seen that he was very anxious, but he did not rush him. Wu Qiao was currently facing a cliff in deep thought. The cliff that reached into the clouds seemed to have been split open by a blade. There was even a small pool at the bottom of the cliff. And he was standing near the pool looking up at the cliff. He had maintained this posture for quite a while. Wu Xiaodao was bored from waiting, so she simply took out a fishing rod and started fishing by the pool. She even acted like she was baiting. She was just passing the time. She did not think that she would actually catch a few fish. Seeing these lively fish, she began to toss out food again. A pot of fish soup, a few grilled fish, and the rest were braised. They were placed on the table one by one. That leisurely appearance made it seem like he was not being controlled by someone, but was instead on a scenic tour. You've already been staring at this cliff for a long time. Have you seen anything? The little old man saw that Wu Qiao's posture did not change and finally could not help but ask. Wu Qiao turned around and glanced at him, saying, "The entrance to the mausoleum is here." "Here. Are you sure? If you dare to trick me, I will immediately take your little lives." The little old man stared at the mountain for a while. There was nothing special about it. Could it be that because it looked like it was cut by someone he said it was here? Facing his questioning gaze, Wu Qiao was not flustered. He pointed at the pool below and said, "The entrance is below the pool. If you don't believe me, you can go down and take a look." You were staring at the mountain before, but now you say that the mausoleum is in the pool? The little old man clearly did not believe her words. I deduced that it is below. If you don't believe me, then there's nothing I can do, Wu Qiao said indifferently. The little old man stared at the pool for a while. He clearly felt that Wu Qiao's actions were too childish, but for some reason he felt that his words were somewhat trustworthy. Wu Xiaodao finished cooking all the fish and waved her hand at Wu Qiao. Then she said to the little old man, Grandpa, you are so powerful. Go down and take a look. You will know if what little Yao said is true. Little Yao Yao and I will eat fish here and wait for you. Don't even think about bringing us down. You know me. If we go down together, you might not be able to find the entrance. You're so powerful we won't run. The little old man was still a little hesitant. He had already experienced the misfortune in Wu Xiaodao's life. If he brought her down, there might really be a lot of trouble. But if he didn't bring her along, that kid wouldn't go down either. Moreover, it was still unknown whether this was the entrance to the mausoleum. He thought for a while, then casually set up a barrier, trapping them in the table. If I can make it out safely, you can make it out. With that, he jumped down. Wu Xiaodao just finished eating a grilled fish and drank a bowl of fish soup. She put the rest of the grilled fish into Wu Qiao's bowl and gave him a bowl of fish soup. Eat more. You've lost weight these days. If mother sees this, she'll say that I didn't take good care of you. Wu Qiao nodded and began to eat the fish. Eat slowly. You won't be coming up for a while anyway. We'll leave after we finish eating. Wu Xiaodao sometimes still took care of him like a younger brother. She put one hand on the table and stared at Wu Qiao. What's down there? How can you let him go down for so long? Little Yao Yao was willing to sit down and eat fish, which meant that there was still plenty of time. I don't know what it is, but there are fluctuations of spiritual power down there. Wu Qiao continued to eat the fish. Wu Xiaodao knew that Wu Qiao's senses were very sharp, so no matter what was down there, it probably wasn't a small thing. Little Yao Yao, where are we going later? Since he was the one who spread the news about this treasure, it means that it's fake. Then let's walk around the mountain and see if we can find the real mausoleum. Wu Qiao was actually not very interested in the mausoleum, but since his sister liked it, he could only bring it along as a younger brother. Then when you finish eating, we'll go walk around, Wu Xiaodao said with a smile. I wonder what mother is doing right now and if she misses us. Wu Qiao lowered his head to drink the fish soup, hiding the light in his eyes. Before Wu Qiao could finish eating, a group of people walked over to him. They were surprised to see two little guys eating by the pool. Little sister, why do you need to use a barrier to eat? A woman asked curiously. We were locked up here. Wu Xiaodao replied with a smile. Big sister, can you save us? Unexpectedly, when those people heard her words, their expressions all changed. That woman still giggled and said, Who locked you all up here? Where's the person who locked you up? He went down into the pool. Before he went down, he locked us up here. Wu Xiaodao looked at them pitifully. When they heard that someone went down into the water, those people's expressions became even uglier. For a moment, more than 10 people ignored the two of them and jumped into the water one after another, disappearing. Is my charm that low now? Wu Xiaodao touched his face. Am I still past the time when everyone loves me and flowers bloom? Wu Qiao didn't answer her because at this time, someone ran over. Those people glanced at the two of them and jumped down without saying a word. As they jumped, they said, That's right, it must be here. Fortunately, we're so close. Little Yao Yao, you didn't hit the jackpot and really found the entrance to the mausoleum, did you? Wu Xiaodao said in surprise. Wu Qiao pursed his lips. He really only felt that there were fluctuations of spiritual power below. Little Yao Yao, after we finish eating, we'll also go down to see. Wu Xiaodao was very excited, but he didn't interrupt him from eating the fish. We don't know what's going on down there, so we're not in a hurry to go down. Wu Xiaodao didn't urge him to hurry up and eat, which made him feel very happy. Although this sister always caused some trouble, she was very considerate towards her family. They just ate here, watching wave after wave of people go down, but none of them came up. The water in the pool was full and turned red. Every wave of people would look at them strangely, but they also knew from these people why this place was suddenly so lively. The divination sect leader personally said that the entrance to the mausoleum was under a blade landscape. Wasn't he talking about this place? That fraud is Fushi's second master, right? If that was the case, then Fushi and his master were both here? Should we tell mother that her friends are here? Wu Xiaodao asked. Chapter 2261. This news should have spread like wildfire by now. Mother might already know about it. Wu Qiao finished the last bit of the fish soup. Wu Xiaodao kept the bowls, chopsticks and table and asked, "Are we going down now?" Wu Qiao nodded. "Almost. There are many people down there now. If we go down now we won't attract too much attention." "Then let's go." Wu Xiaodao took out a red bead. After injecting spiritual energy into it, he placed the bead on the barrier. As the bead emitted a red light, the barrier around the bead began to disappear. In a few moments it completely collapsed. "This thing is really useful." Wu Xiaodao kept the bead. "Fortunately, Uncle Ming gave us this before we left. Otherwise this barrier would be difficult to break. Let's go down." After Wu Qiao finished speaking, he pressed something on his belt, and a halo appeared around him, enveloping him from head to toe. Wu Xiaodao pressed something as well. When her protective barrier formed, the two of them jumped into the pool together. Not long after, Sima Yuiwei and Jia Nanxin also arrived. She smiled when she saw the fish bones by the pool. These two little fellows were clearly kidnapped, but they were still so relaxed. "I didn't expect there to be a mausoleum here." Jia Nanxin sighed. He and Yin Ji had already recovered from their injuries. They were about to bid farewell to Sima Yuiwei when they heard Master Jun's prophecy. Since there really was a mausoleum here, they had to take a look. "Let's go down." Sima Yuiwei was worried about the two little fellows and jumped down first. Jia Nanxin wanted to remind her that she had already sunk to the bottom of the pool without a protective barrier. The two of them hurriedly formed a protective barrier and saw that she was completely fine. Upon closer inspection, there was a faint glow on her body that isolated her from the water. From above it looked like a small pool. However, when they came down they realized that there was another world here. Sima Yuiwei used the faint glow to observe the surroundings. She waved at Jia Nanxin and the three of them swam towards the cave at the side. There were many corpses floating in the water. Sima Yuiwei nimbly avoided them. Not far ahead, Wu Xiaodao and Wu Qiao were also carefully avoiding the corpses. "Little Yao Yao, this place is too strange." Wu Xiaodao dodged a corpse and caught up to Wu Qiao. "So many people have died below and we have been up there for so long but we haven't heard anything. It is indeed very strange. Stay close to me and don't run around." Wu Qiao turned around and warned her. "I know." Wu Xiaodao followed him closely, no longer running around. The two of them passed through the long and narrow cave. The deeper they went, the more corpses they saw. Those miserable deaths made people want to vomit. Fortunately, they had reached the end of the cave. They no longer had to endure being in the water with the corpses. "There's some kind of power in front that is blocking the water here," Wu Qiao said. "It's true." Wu Xiaodao stretched his neck to take a look. "Let's be careful. And you walk behind me." Wu Qiao held Wu Xiaodao's hand, preventing any forces from separating them. The two of them carefully walked forward and came to the edge of the cave. The expected attack did not appear. The two of them held hands and jumped into the cave. It was very wide and deep. The two of them jumped down and felt as if they were supported by something. Then they landed steadily on the ground. It was very wide like a plaza. There were many corpses lying on the ground. Some of them were still warm. It was obvious that the battle had just ended. Aren't these people too crazy? They haven't even entered and they've already killed so many. If they go in and see the treasure, they'll kill until even their ancestors don't know. Wu Xiaodao curled his lips. At the entrance of the tomb, they've already lost their minds. They can't wait to kill everyone so that they can monopolize this tomb. Wu Qiao said indifferently, "What's more, this is the tomb of an almighty. Those people want to get some useful information from here so that they can break through the monarch realm and enter eternal life." Is this really the tomb of an almighty? Since they're already eternal life, how can they still die? They even made such a tomb. Are these people stupid? Wu Xiaodao sneered. They have to have something to look forward to. Otherwise they'll feel that life is hopeless. That's true. Wu Xiaodao agreed with his words, but our luck is really good. We didn't encounter any fights. With their current strength, if they encountered such a fight they could only be cannon fodder. The two of them came to the entrance of the tomb. The door had already been opened and there were two corpses lying at the entrance. Both of them had their eyes open. They died with grievances. They had already come here but they didn't have a chance to go in. How could they be reconciled? I heard that these tombs have mechanisms. Will we be shot into a hole? Wu Xiaodao said with a smile. He wasn't afraid at all. Even if there are mechanisms, they would have been triggered by the people in front. At this time the most dangerous thing is still the people. Wu Qiao replied. We're so weak. Maybe others won't deal with us. Wu Qiao glanced at her and didn't respond to her baseless words. The two of them followed the direction of the corpses and walked in. Along the way they would occasionally see a few corpses. Some were killed by people while others were killed by mechanisms. It seemed like they had made a wise decision to follow the path of others. This tomb is a bit strange. Wu Qiao looked at the corpses and said with a frown. How is it strange? Don't you think that there are too few mechanisms in this tomb? Wu Qiao asked. Although the two of them had been following behind others, it wasn't to the extent that they hadn't encountered any mechanisms. No matter how powerful the people in front were, it was impossible for them to destroy all the mechanisms. Wu Xiaodao didn't think so. Didn't we also encounter a fork in the road? Maybe we were lucky enough to choose a safer route. Besides, we've already come here. Can we not continue forward? Wu Xiaodao was right. They had already come here. They couldn't give up halfway. The two of them continued forward. They encountered several forks in the road. Every time the two of them chose based on intuition. They didn't know if it was really as Xiaodao said. The two of them were very lucky. Anyway, the two of them didn't encounter any danger along the way. Wu Qiao felt around the wall for a while. He found a small spot that wasn't prominent and pressed it down. The stone room was opened. Wu Xiaodao saw the coffin in the stone room at the back. There were also 3 or 4 people. The originally tense atmosphere in the stone chamber was immediately eased by the appearance of the two of them. Chapter 2262. The people in the stone room were very surprised to see Wu Qiao and Wu Xiaodao. They had all gone through untold hardships to reach this step. Even if it was them, they were more or less injured. But these two little guys did not have any injuries on their bodies. Even their clothes were not wrinkled. The two of them walked through the dangerous mausoleum like it was flat ground. This was too inconceivable. Could it be that they were stronger than them? Impossible. The two of them were clearly only in their teens. How could they be 2 old monsters? The little old man saw that the two of them were unharmed and said, "How did you two get here?" "We walked over." Wu Xiaodao's question made people stumble. "How is that possible? You two are not injured at all. Who would believe that you walked over like this?" A woman shouted. "Old eight, you know them?" A tall and thin old man asked. A pair of eyes swept over Wu Xiaodao's body. Wu Xiaodao did not like this feeling. "I know them." The little old man told them about how he caught them. "Are you sure they don't have any strength? Your barrier is so powerful. If they really did what you said, how could they come out of the barrier?" The woman questioned his words. "Gee, it's just a barrier. What's so difficult about it? You want to trap us with it? You're too naive." Wu Xiaodao sneered. "How did you come out of my barrier?" The little old man asked in a deep voice. "No matter what barrier it is, a knot-breaking bead was enough to solve it." Wu Xiaodao said proudly. "These two little guys are too strange. I think we should first deal with them before we talk about opening the coffin." The middle-aged man who had not spoken until now stared at Wu Qiao and said, "These 2 children gave people a very strange feeling." He was not sure who was behind these 2 children. Compared to these familiar old guys, it was better to deal with these 2 unstable factors first. The little old man was a bit hesitant. Wu Qiao still had some ability. If it were not for him, he would not have been the first to come to the mausoleum. If he kept him, he might be useful in the future. But looking at the other 3 people, they did not want to keep them. If he insisted on keeping them, he would become enemies with the other 3. They did not form an alliance. If the 3 of them fought against him because of this, he had no chance of winning. Therefore, after struggling for a while, he agreed to their suggestion. Wu Qiao pulled Wu Xiaodao behind him and looked at the 4 peak monarch rank people who were emitting killing intent without showing any fear. His aura made it seem as if he was the one overlooking the world. This caused the 4 of them to be shocked, and they were even more certain that they were not ordinary people. The more unusual they were, the more they had to be dealt with as soon as possible to avoid more trouble. Just as they were about to make a move, the stone door in the other direction was opened. 3 people who looked to be in a sorry state but were not injured walked in from the outside. "It seems that our speed is still relatively slow." Kanan Xang quickly sized up the people in the room and recognized 2 of them. Since the other 2 were able to confront them, it meant that their strength was about the same as theirs. Sima Yue looked at Wu Qiao and Wu Xiaodao. Both of them were unscathed, which made her heart settle down. This mausoleum was very strange. If the 2 of them encountered any danger, she might not be able to rush to their side immediately. Looking at how Wu Qiao was protecting Wu Xiaodao with one hand and forming a seal with the other, She immediately understood the situation before they came. These people actually wanted to kill the two of them. The woman glanced at Sima Yue and the other two and did not put them in her eyes. They were not powerful people, so there was no need to care. On the contrary, it was better to deal with these two children of unknown origin first. She condensed her spiritual power and attacked Wu Xiaodao and Wu Qiyao. Because they were in the tomb, the power she used was small after all, but it was still not something that the two children could resist. However, the power was swallowed by a black fog when it approached them. The black fog gradually gathered and slowly formed the appearance of a man. It was Xiao He who had transformed into a human. Xiao He looked at the woman and attacked in a flash. He actually forced the woman to the point where she was unable to fight back. They actually had such a powerful person by their side. They were indeed not ordinary people. When the middle-aged man saw this, he would not let them go. While Xiao He and the woman were fighting, he attacked Wu Qiyao. Mi-air came down from Wu Xiaodao's arm and caught the middle-aged man's palm. Because both of them were not weak, the mausoleum trembled. However, he did not know what the almighty person used to build the mausoleum. It did not collapse even after such a fight. It was no wonder that they were not afraid at all when they had two people who were at the peak of the monarch rank by their side. It was no wonder that the two little fellows did not panic when they were held hostage for a few days. It turned out that they had such a thing to rely on. But since they had such powerful people by their side, why were they willing to follow him for so long? The little old man stared at Wu Qiyao and Wu Xiaodao, wanting to see the answer from them. Old 8, what are you still standing there for? If we don't kill these two people, we will leave behind trouble in the future. The thin and tall man shouted at the little old man. The little old man was a little tempted. The man saw that he was still hesitating and his figure moved, about to attack Wu Qiyao. You 4 old men are bullying 2 children. This is shameless to a certain extent. Sima Yue crossed her arms in front of her chest and said faintly, "If you don't want to die, don't get involved." The thin and tall man shouted, "I really want to get involved. What can you do to me?" Sima Yue shouted, "I will deal with you after I take care of those 2 people." The thin and tall man glanced at her and turned to attack Wu Qiyao. Jiananshin saw the killing intent in the man's eyes. This was a peak of the monarch rank. Why did she want to get involved? But before he could say anything, she disappeared from his side. The thin and tall man flew over to attack Wu Qiyao in an instant. But the 2 people who were in front of them just now disappeared. Looking at the empty stone room door, he was stunned. "With your speed, you are still a little slow." A faint voice came from behind, shouting with undisguised sarcasm. He turned around and saw Sima Yue standing in the same place, as well as Wu Xiaodao and Wu Qiyao beside her. Everyone was shocked. How did this person do it? But the next scene was even more shocking. They saw Wu Xiaodao hugging Sima Yue. His eyes instantly turned red as he shouted at her, "Mother, when did you come to the mountain? I missed you so much." What? This woman was the mother of these 2 children? Jiananshin was stunned by the scene in front of her. Sima Yue didn't push this little girl away. Was she really their mother? Chapter 2263. Sima Yue hugged Wu Xiaodao and patted her back. "Mother has always been here." Mother has always been here? Wu Xiaodao was stunned. She looked at Wu Qiyao, he was not surprised at all and said, "Little Yao Yao, you know that mother has always been following us?" "Yes," Wu Qiyao replied. If he did not know that Sima Yue was beside them, he would not have been so calm from the beginning. "Little Yao Yao, you didn't even tell me." Wu Xiaodao was unhappy. Why did he know but she did not? "Alright, now is not the time to talk about this." Sima Yue comforted her, "Let's settle the matter here first." "Yes, I'll deal with you later." Wu Xiaodao glared at Wu Qiyao and stood beside Sima Yue obediently. "Yue, you really have children?" Jiananshin was shocked. "Yes, this is Xiaodao, this is little Yao Yao." Sima Yue pointed at Jiananshin and said, "Call him Uncle Jiananshin." "Uncle Jiananshin." The 2 children said in unison, "Good children." Jiananshin nodded at them. The little old man and the tall skinny man looked at Sima Yue. They no longer looked down on her after she saved them. "Old 8, are you still going to stand by and do nothing?" The tall skinny man asked. But the tall skinny man alone might not be able to deal with Sima Yue, so the little old man had to take action this time. Jiananshin and Yanji could be ignored, they could definitely deal with Sima Yue together. "This place is so small, I think it's better if we don't fight." Jiananshin said, "If this place collapses, not only will everyone be injured, we will also not be able to get the inheritance." 1 against 2, he was worried that Sima Yue would not be able to handle it. Mother, forget it, let's go? Wu Qiao said. Sima Yue looked at Wu Qiao, he winked at her and nodded, then let's go. Mier and Nameless come back. Mier and Xiaohei obviously had the upper hand. When they heard Sima Yue's order, they returned without hesitation. Mother, let's go that way. Wu Xiaodao pointed at the path they came from. Kanan Xian and Yanji were only able to come this far because of Sima Yue. They had also obtained some treasures on their way here. They knew that they would not be able to obtain anything in the end, so they did not hesitate to leave with them. The little old man and the others stared at them as they left. No one said anything to stop them. If they were to fight against these people, they might not necessarily win. Now that they had taken the initiative to leave, the 4 of them did not have to worry about them snatching the inheritance. After he left, the 4 of them returned to their initial confrontation. However, it was different now because 2 of them were injured by Mier and Xiaohei. The lanky man and the small old man looked at each other and attacked the remaining 2 people at the same time. The 4 of them were originally evenly matched, but because of the interlude, the balance was broken. Sima Yue knew that once they left, the 4 of them would definitely fight. However, this had nothing to do with them anymore. Wu Qiao led the group back the way they came. They did not encounter any danger along the way. When they were about to leave the tomb, they met a few people. When those people saw them, their first reaction was to go forward and rob them. However, they were all killed by Mier and Xiaohei. When they reached the pool, there were even more corpses here. The entire pool was densely packed and it made one's scalp tingle. Seeing those corpses, Sima Yue frowned and called little birdie out. Even though it was in the water, it quickly burned those corpses and burned a path. What they did not know was that when little birdie came out, a few closed eyes opened together. He was back. Sima Yue and the rest came out of the pool. Little birdie returned to her body. Qi Yin suddenly sent her a message, "Don't reveal my aura in the future." Sima Yue was shocked. What's wrong? Qi Yin told her about how he was discovered. Sima Yue was a little regretful. Why didn't you stop me just now? What if she really brought trouble to him because of her? You don't have to worry. I deliberately let them discover me. Qi Yan's voice was colder than before. I haven't been back for so many years. I want to see how powerful they are. However, because he was not confident and did not know the current situation in the divine territory, Sima Yue could not reveal his aura. I understand. Sima Yue replied. However, since they can discover that you are back, then Fushi, he has not completely evolved into the green dragon. Therefore they will not take him seriously. Moreover, he has people protecting him. What Qi Yan did not say was that one of the important reasons why they let Fushi go was because only the green dragon was here. Moreover, his power had not been inherited. However, now that he was here, they would pay more attention to him. Mother, what are you thinking about? Wu Xiaodao held Sima Yue's hand. You don't look good at all. I prefer Mother's look. Sima Yue removed her fusion with 1000 resonance and returned to her original appearance. Mother, did you turn into a lot of people and follow us? Wu Xiaodao said with certainty. Your brother is much more sensitive than you. Sima Yue said. He only knows how to play. He doesn't even know that someone is following us. Wu Xiaodao laughed. She was indeed not as sensitive as little Yao Yao. However, she also knew that Sima Yue and Wu Qiao did not tell her because they wanted her to play freely. Alright, little Yao Yao, why did you let us out just now? The coffin is empty. There is nothing inside. Wu Qiao said. I see. You are right. We came here for nothing. Wu Xiaodao thought about how she did not get anything this time and felt a little depressed. Jianan Xian sized up Wu Qiao. She did not know why he was so sure. Sima Yue and Wu Xiaodao did not even need to check before believing him. Since we have entered the tomb, let's go out. Little Dan is still waiting for us outside. Sima Yue said. Jianan Xian heard Jianan Dan's name and nodded in agreement. They had originally planned to leave. Now that they were able to get some treasures in the tomb, it was already an unexpected surprise. He was also quite satisfied. Then I will call Little Roar and the rest back. Sima Yue was just about to contact Little Roar when she heard him crying for help. Little Yu, come quickly. We are going to be caught and eaten. Little Roar cried. Sima Yue sensed for a moment and her face darkened. She said to Jianan Xn and Yanji, wait for me here. As soon as she finished speaking, her figure suddenly vanished on the spot without the slightest fluctuation, and this scene caused Jianan to be extremely shocked. In these few decades, how much had she grown? Chapter 2264. Sima Yue and Little Roar were not far from each other, so it did not take long for them to reach there. When she came out of the space and saw the scene in front of her, she shivered. She saw hundreds of people surrounding Little Seven and the rest, and even used some medicine on them, making everyone else immobile except for Little Hua. Little Hua was strong, but he could not withstand so many people, and there were still people coming from afar. Very good. Yue was anxious, so she hid her presence in the air, and then used the top-grade purple lightning in her body to attract the lightning tribulation. Those people were still chasing after them, and when Little Seven and the rest saw the tribulation cloud above their heads, their eyes were filled with joy. Yi was here, they were saved. The people on the ground did not notice the dark clouds above their heads at first, as they were all excited. The eye of the earth just a little bit would help them increase their strength. Seeing Little Seven like this, she probably had quite a few original bodies. They did not want to monopolize it. Even if they could get a share of it, it would be good. When they felt a different energy locking onto them, they woke up from their dream, and looked up at the tribulation cloud in the sky. They knew that they were locked onto by the tribulation cloud, and immediately panicked. Why is there a tribulation cloud? So many people. It was not known who shouted, but everyone recovered from their shock and became even more panicked. With so many strong people gathered together, how strong would the tribulation cloud be? Who exactly attracted the lightning tribulation? Haha, who asked you to poison me? This time, I'll let you have a taste of being barbecued. Little Roar laughed. Although he could not use his spiritual energy, his voice was still loud, and in this chaotic space, it could still be heard very far. What? This tribulation cloud was actually related to them? Although the people outside saw the tribulation cloud, they had already entered and were locked onto in an instant. Thus, the tribulation cloud's range became bigger and bigger, and the energy became stronger and stronger. Those with fast eyes and quick reactions saw that the tribulation cloud had stopped, and the number of people who entered the tribulation decreased. At this time, those who were flying in the sky had already landed on the ground, as if they were thinking that if they were shorter, the tribulation cloud might strike those who were taller first. In this way, everyone saw Sima Yue who was standing in the sky, her eyes filled with killing intent. You're finally here. If you didn't come, you wouldn't have been able to see us again. Woo woo woo. Little Roar howled sadly. Sima Yue waved her hand and a force swept the beasts into the air. She took out an antidote and fed it to them. Once the poison was cured, they would be able to stand by her side. Xiaohua transformed into a little doll and stood beside her. Thank you for your hard work. Sima Yue patted Xiaohua's head and praised him. These people poisoned Little Seven and the others. This poison was overbearing. No matter if it was plant type or animal type, they couldn't use spiritual energy. Therefore, it could be said that Xiaohua was the only one protecting them along the way. Xiaohua was not happy to be praised. Xiaohua is still not strong enough. If he had been stronger, no one would have been injured. You're already very good. Sima Yue said, go back when the lightning tribulation starts. Now, we can watch the ugliness of those people in the face of death. Who are you? Why did you attract the lightning tribulation? Someone shouted. Those panicking people quieted down and stared at Sima Yue with hatred. Sima Yue was so angry that she laughed. She moved her mind and a small throne appeared behind her. She sat on it and bent down to look at the people below. Before you ask such a childish question, did you ask yourself if you brought your brain with you? You poisoned my contracted beasts and chased them here. The one who asked this question, tell me, why did I attract the lightning tribulation? You, what about me? You wanted to kill my contracted beast. Didn't you think that someone would kill you? Sima Yue didn't give that person any time to reply. She sneered, I just don't know if you can bear the result. Do you know who we are? Aren't you afraid of revenge for killing like this? Someone threatened. Why do I need to know who you are? Little Purple appeared in her arms, and her hand caressed its back, looking extremely lazy. She had a smile on her face, but it was like a devil's snare blooming in hell. No matter who you are, it's the same to me. Anyone who dares to have ideas about my spirit beasts only has one identity, my enemy. So, don't say such childish words. The tribulation clouds in the sky were still thickening. This meant that the lightning tribulation was still getting stronger. The people below were scared out of their wits. But they couldn't leave. They could only see if they had any way to survive. The lightning tribulation here had attracted the attention of the entire Deer God Mountain. This level of lightning tribulation was going to destroy the entire Deer God Mountain. Wu Xiaodao and Wu Qiao saw the tribulation clouds and shouted, not good, someone made Mother angry. After saying that, the two of them flew towards the tribulation clouds. Jiananshin and Yanji were worried about them and also flew over. Wu Xiaodao and Wu Qiao flew outside the tribulation clouds and stopped. Seeing the densely packed people, they were worried. Little Yao Yao, will Mother be okay? She won't be. Wu Qiao didn't know how these people offended Sima Yue, but they must have angered her quite a bit. That's why she chose to use this method to deal with them. The tribulation clouds in the sky almost reached the ground. This was the first time in the divine realm that something like this had happened. Pa! A bolt of lightning struck down. It didn't hit Sima Yue, but instead, it struck the people below. With the first bolt, the rest of the tribulation lightning struck down one after another. It was like a rain of lightning. This scene shocked the people outside who were watching the show. Sima Yue sat on the small throne and looked at the various reactions of the people below. The large bolts of lightning were absorbed by Little Purple when they landed on her body. The normal bolts of lightning circled around her body and fell into the spirit pool. Everyone else was struck into charcoal, but she was completely fine. Mother's clothes were specially refined for the lightning tribulation. How could they be burnt? Wu Xiaodao said proudly. Jiananshin looked at Sima Yue, who was in the middle of the lightning tribulation. She didn't know how to look at her martial granduncle anymore. Thinking of the time when she was in the hidden sect, and thinking of her strength this time, she sympathized with these people. Of all the people they could provoke, they had to provoke her. The lightning tribulation struck for a whole day tirelessly, killing and crippling those people. Only then did the cloud spirit pat its butt and leave. Thousands of people fell to the ground. This time it was a real black mass. Sima Yue got up and kept the small throne. She carried Little Purple in her arms and said faintly, "If you're not convinced, you can come and find me. Anyway, I haven't attracted lightning to temper my body in a long time." After saying that, she suddenly appeared in front of Wu Xiaodao and the rest. Then she left with Wu Xiaodao and the rest, leaving behind a ground of charcoal. Chapter 2265. The trees on Mount Dear God were chopped down and the ground was scorched. The corpses were beyond recognition and could not be identified. This tragic scene was unforgettable for the rest of their lives. As for the culprit, she was still elegantly dressed. She left with her people, leaving them with a clear and beautiful back view. Those people wanted to get the Eye of Earth but were shocked by her move and did not dare to act recklessly. What a joke! Who would dare to go up to someone who was unharmed in such a strong lightning tribulation? Wasn't that just seeking death? What if she was in a bad mood and attracted the lightning tribulation again? Who could escape unscathed? Thinking of Little Seven and the rest, they were not satisfied. Such a treasure was actually someone else's contracted beast? How good would it be if they could get it? Sima Yue brought the group out of Mount Dear God and came out of the space. Sima Yue called out a few beasties wanting to ask about what happened. "Little Roar, are you being playful again?" Sima Yue asked with a solemn face. Little Roar had been holding back his anger. He felt that he was the one who wanted Little Seven to go with them. At that time, he thought that Little Seven was strong and would be safe with her. If he did not bring it up, it would not have led to such a situation and implicated everyone. Although he was saved in the end, he still felt very guilty. Now that Sima Yue asked, he started crying. You can't blame Little Roar for this." Little Dream said, "We were in the mountains previously and heard about the tomb from those spirit beasts. Little Roar did not do anything overboard. It was a coincidence that Little Seven's identity was discovered. We did not expect that someone with such mediocre strength would be able to sniff out Little Seven's real body." "That's true. There were many people and Little Seven's identity was spread." Hua Hua spoke up for Little Roar. "Little Yu, I'm sorry. If I did not insist on going out, it would not have led to such a situation." Little Seven lowered her head and clenched her fists in regret. They all knew that if Little Seven's identity was exposed, it would bring a lot of trouble to Sima Yue, so they all blamed themselves. "Since this matter has already been discovered, let's not think about it anymore." Sima Yue hugged Little Roar. "As for Little Seven, I want to see how many people are willing to sacrifice their lives for treasures." When Kanan Xian saw the murderous intent emanating from her body, she thought about how she had killed so many people without expending a single soldier. She knew it was because she was angry, but she did not expect it to be because of her contracted beast. No one knew who this Little Seven was to actually attract so many people to fight over her. Soon he received the news. Little Seven looked at the girl who was about the same age as Wu Xiaodao. She didn't expect her to be the Eye of Earth. When they returned to the inn, Sima Yue asked him to wait for a while. She went out and soon returned with Kanan Dan. When Kanan Dan saw Kanan Xin, she ran over excitedly and hugged him. "Brother, I finally met you." Kanan Xian's usually cold face finally revealed a trace of a smile when he saw Kanan Xin. However, it was fleeting, and in the next second he returned to his cold expression. Not only that, he even pulled Kanan Dan from his body and slapped his butt twice. He shouted, "Do you know your mistake?" Kanan Dan's excited little face immediately collapsed. She lowered her head and admitted her mistake. "I heard that you were in danger, so, do you know how many guards you've lost by coming out so rashly? If you hadn't met Yue coincidentally and brought you here, do you think you'd still be alive? If something were to happen to you, what would I do? What would the family do?" Kanan Xian reprimanded. Kanan Dan thought about the guards who had died and blamed himself. He cried out, "I didn't want them to die, but they're all dead. It's all my fault. Woo woo woo, big brother, I was wrong." Before this, he did not shed a single tear in front of Sima Yue. Now that he saw his family, the fear and self-blame in his heart gushed out. He hugged Kanan Xian and cried. Kanan Xian sighed. In the end, it was because he wasn't strong enough that he couldn't protect him. Sima Yue gave him a look and opened the door to leave. Wu Xiaodao came out from the room next door. He looked at Sima Yue and said, "Mother, are we going back to Kanan's house with him?" Sima Yue shook her head. "We're not going. We'll go back to the Chan family first." "Mother, why do you want to go back to the Chan family?" Wu Xiaodao asked curiously. "I have nothing to do anyway," Sima Yue said and went back to her room. Wu Xiaodao shrank into Wu Qiyao's room and said, "Little Yao Yao, do you know why Mother wants to go back to the Chan family? Mother is the young master of the 9 Nether clan. What's so strange about going back?" Wu Qiao said lightly. "Mother didn't say that she wanted to go back. Maybe she changed her mind." Wu Qiao said, "She's going back anyway. It's just that it's early. If you're really curious, you can ask Mother." Wu Xiaodao pursed his lips. Mother would tell her. Why would she ask him? In less than 2 days, Kanan's people came looking for them. Sima Yue saw the huge group of people and knew that Kanan Xian and the rest could go back without a problem. "Yue sister, come to our place to play when you're free." Kanan Xian couldn't bear to part with Yue and the rest. Her little eyes were red. "Okay." Kanan Xian nodded at Sima Yue and left with her people. Sima Yue called Chanjiu out. He was familiar with the divine territory and naturally knew how to get to the Chan family. However, before they left the inn, they met the first group of people who came to snatch Little Seven. Maybe it was because they were afraid of her ability to pass the tribulation. Those people attacked without saying a word. It was as if they didn't want to give her a chance to trigger the lightning tribulation. This woman wasn't very strong. As long as they didn't give her a chance to trigger the lightning tribulation, they would definitely be able to kill her. As long as she died, the Eye of the Earth would be without an owner. They attacked fiercely the moment they arrived. Sima Yue obviously knew what they were trying to do. However, if they wanted to kill her with this kind of strength, they were dreaming too much. Sima Yue called Mier and the rest out. The few of them each took on a few people and finished off all the people who came. These people are really fast. Looks like we have to leave this place quickly. Sima Yue kept them into the spirit pagoda and took out a small throne to sit on. After sitting on it, she disappeared immediately. Not long after she left, thousands of people came to the inn. They were all people who came from Dear God Mountain. When they surrounded the inn and saw the corpses, they knew that Sima Yue had escaped. They were all filled with regret. Chapter 2266. Liao City wasn't very eye-catching in the divine realm because there weren't any particularly powerful forces here. That wasn't right either. This place used to be very prosperous before the 9 Nether clan declined. Sima Yue didn't find Chan Shan immediately after arriving at Liao City. Instead, she found an inn to stay in. Wu Xiaodao leaned on Sima Yue, holding her hand and resting her head on her shoulder. This was her favorite action since she was young. "Mother, why aren't we going back now that we're here?" She realized that she didn't know what her mother was thinking ever since she came out of Dear God Mountain. She was the one who said she wanted to come back, but she didn't go back after coming back. She didn't understand. "Let's meet 2 people first before going back." Sima Yue patted her hand. "This is the Chan family's territory. If you and Xiao Yao Yao want to go out, you can go out and play." Wu Xiaodao rolled her eyes and said with a smile, "Okay." Xiao Yao Yao, come out with me. Wu Qiao got up and followed her out. When they were outside, he asked, what do you want to do now? Let's find father? Wu Xiaodao said. I have a feeling that mother is going to do something later. With father around, no one can bully mother. Wu Qiao smiled. It's rare for you to be smart for once. What's smart for once? I'm very smart. Wu Xiaodao shook her fist at her brother. Since you agree with my idea, let's contact father. It will probably take him a few days to settle the matters at hand. No need, I've already told father. Wu Qiao said. You've already told father? When? Why didn't you tell me? Wu Xiaodao was angry. A few days ago. You didn't think of this yourself. If I told you, you would have turned around and told mother. Wu Qiao stared at his sister. He knew her personality too well. Wu Xiaodao pouted and didn't refute his words. She continued, then is father coming over soon? Will he not be able to put aside his matters and come over? He won't. Wu Xiaodao said with certainty. What did you tell father? After mother came to the divine realm, many wild bees and butterflies appeared around her. A few of them were not bad. Didn't you want to go shopping? Let's go. After Wu Qiao finished speaking, he walked out. Wu Xiaodao thought about what he said and happily chased after him. That's a good idea. Yes. But since you're doing this behind my back, you'll have to accompany me for a while. All right. Xiao Yao Yao, you have such a cold personality. Can you find a wife in the future? Sima Yue was in the room. When she saw the two little guys leave, she wasn't that worried. However, she still let Chanjiu follow them. Ever since she left Dear God Mountain, she knew that many people were searching for her whereabouts. These people wanted to take advantage of Little Seven, but it was still a small matter, so she didn't care. What she cared about was the other group of people walking in the god's domain, the people from the four palaces. On the way to Liao City, she noticed that almost every city had people from the four palaces. Taotai Palace, Cheongqi Palace, Primal Chaos Palace, and Nightmare Palace. Moreover, they didn't hide their movements from the world, so everyone knew what the four palaces were up to. For them to move out together was something that hadn't happened in tens of thousands of years. For a moment, everyone was anxious. Many people guessed that something big was going to happen in the god's domain. Sima Yue knew what they were looking for. The divine bird Vermilion Bird's aura had appeared. Others might not have noticed it, but the four old monsters would definitely sense it. The four ferocious beasts and the four divine beasts were old enemies. Last time, they used some unknown method to defeat the four divine beasts and allowed them to rule the god's domain. They all thought that the Vermilion Bird was dead. They didn't expect it to return after so many years. She sat by the window and watched the people coming and going below until a few people appeared silently in the room. Seeing that she wasn't surprised, they raised their eyebrows. You were waiting for us? Master Jun, I've long heard of your name. Sima Yue stood up and bowed. You knew we were coming? The man in the lead was Fushi's second master, the divinator Jun Bai. Jun Bai's aura was different from Yin Lin, Hong Yuan, and Xiao Tong. He didn't have an unfathomable look. His chubby body and smiling face looked very down to earth. Jun Bai looked at her with a smile and sized her up. Little girl, I've finally met you. Sima Yue smiled. Is Fushi doing well? He's in seclusion, going through the final awakening and inheritance. Before you came. Jun Bai said. When he comes out, he won't be that little guy anymore. When he comes out, the divine dragon will return and the four seas will submit to him. The four palaces will let him complete it smoothly? Sima Yue didn't expect Fushi to be at the most critical moment. They were so nervous about Qiyan. If Fushi came, they wouldn't sit still. The four palaces naturally won't, but aren't you helping? Jun Bai said. Sima Yue was stunned for a moment, then understood. That day, the four great beasts sensed Qiyan's aura and disappeared in an instant. They naturally sent more people to track him down. This way, Fushi's side would have an easier time. That day, I just wanted to alert the enemy. I didn't expect it to be so effective. She smiled. But this is good. Your situation isn't optimistic. Jun Bai found a seat and sat down as if he was familiar with them. Sima Yue raised her eyebrows. This person wanted to find trouble for her the moment he appeared? Don't look at me like that. Jun Bai said as he took out 2 walnuts and started cracking them. He really looked like Fushi in the past. The people he brought didn't react at all. They were probably used to it. Jun Bai cracked open a walnut and said as he picked out the pulp, Originally, I didn't want to tell you all this when you came, but you don't have the time now and are too weak. If those guys catch hold of you and destroy you one by one, you won't have a chance to turn things around. These years, the four palaces have become more and more powerful. Previously, there were still some righteous forces such as the Joyo clan and the Canaan family. Unfortunately, they're all gone now. So, if you want to completely defeat the four great beasts, you still need the four great divine beasts to gather. It seems like you want me to find the other two divine beasts? Sima Yue immediately guessed his purpose. Junbai gave her a look that said, "You're so smart. There's a connection between the four great divine beasts and can deduce the location of the other two. So, you really need to do this." "Then why didn't you use Fushi to find them before?" Sima Yue asked. Chapter 2267. Junbai sighed. That sigh was filled with sorrow. Back then, Fushi was in a critical situation and almost didn't make it in time. Fortunately, they were still luckier. Feeling emotional, Junbai's tone became heavier. Fushi hasn't completed his final awakening, so he can't be considered a true divine dragon. The divination can't be very accurate. Even when I went to find you last time, it was because you had interacted with Yuan Shaojia. It's possible to wait for him to come out this time, but you don't have that much time. Moreover, among the four divine beasts, the vermilion bird is the leader. He has an extraordinary relationship with the other three. With his aura, the divination will naturally be accurate. I see. Sima Yue nodded. So, you've divined the whereabouts of the other two divine beasts? If I had, I wouldn't have to make this trip. Junbai shook his head. When I do the divination, I need the vermilion bird to be present. Oh. Sima Yue understood. But not now. Once Qi Yen came out, the four divine beasts would be able to sense his aura. If she called Qi Yen out now, she would have to leave this place in the shortest time possible. She hadn't returned to the Chan family yet and didn't know the situation there. She didn't know if she could leave early, so she had to wait. I'm okay. Junbai's small hammer paused. You'll have one more person when the time comes, so it'll be safer. Sima Yue didn't ask him who the extra person was, but from the looks of it, he had just sensed it. Master Jun, I want to ask you something. She said. Go ahead. Junbai answered casually, not even raising his head. Asking a divination operator like him wasn't an ordinary question. Do you know about the Dark Dragon Guard? Sima Yue asked. Junbai's small hammer suddenly couldn't hit anymore. He hesitated for a moment, then kept the walnuts. Clapping his hands, he said, Let me do a divination for you. Sima Yue was a little surprised. She only wanted to ask about the Dark Dragon Guard to see if he knew about that dark thing. Why did he suddenly want to do a divination for her? Junbai didn't say much. He took out a fortune-telling tool and began to calculate. Sima Yue did not disturb him and sat down beside him. Junbai looked at the divination and frowned. He raised his head and glanced at Sima Yue. He seemed to hesitate for a moment, but also seemed to have made a decision. He pointed at the tea table and said, Extend your hand here. This was the first time he had seen a fortune-telling that required the hands of the person involved. Sima Yue muttered under her breath, but she still obediently let go of his hand. She originally thought that he was deliberately mystifying her, but when she put her hand in, she felt a guiding force lingering around her hand. She stared at her hands curiously. PFFF, Junbai spat out a mouthful of blood, scaring those people into hurriedly running over. They took out a pill and fed it to him. Sima Yue didn't expect Junbai to vomit blood so quickly. Seeing that he was much better after taking the pill, she said guiltily, I'm sorry, I didn't know it would be so serious. Junbai didn't say anything. He just looked straight at her with a complicated expression. Sima Yue saw him like this and her heart skipped a beat. She said, What's wrong? Could it be that I can't find Black Tortoise and White Tiger? No. Junbai coughed. The Dark Dragon Guard does have some history with you, but this time you can go without worry. He doesn't have the time to deal with you now. They will help you delay. She didn't know who they were, but she knew that if he said this, he must be confident. There was no other reason. Once she was found by Shen Qiuhe, the matter of finding White Tiger and Black Tortoise would be ruined. Junbai and those people wouldn't let this happen. We don't have anything to do these days. We'll just wait for you here. After Junbai finished speaking, the people behind him went to find the shopkeeper and asked for a small independent courtyard. After Sima Yue left, the people behind Junbai asked, Master, are you all right? It's quite serious. Junbai sat down with the help of a chair and touched his chest, looking as if he was very hurt. Master, why do we have to stay? Another person asked. They didn't plan to stay and follow her. This was a decision he just made. I'm already injured. Of course I have to stay and recuperate. Junbai snorted. Give the order. Let them delay the Dark Dragon Guard. No matter what price they have to pay before the 4 great divine beasts return, they must not let the Dark Dragon Guard find trouble with her. Yes, master. The 2 of them left, leaving Junbai alone. He sighed deeply and muttered, this world is finally going to change. Little girl, this is your tribulation and also your life. After millions of years of reincarnation, it's finally going to return. Sima Yue returned to her own house. She wasn't as relaxed as she appeared to be just now. Junbai was a divine fortune teller. He vomited blood and got injured just from a divination. This meant that his divination wasn't an ordinary one. He must have divined some heavenly secret. Heavenly secret related to her. She thought of the heavenly Tao. Could it be that Xianxiu's matter was related to the heavenly Tao? Although she had her guesses, she didn't ask Junbai. Even if she asked, it was useless. He wouldn't tell her. When Wu Xiaodao and Wu Qiao returned from outside, she brought the 2 little fellows to bid farewell to Junbai. Junbai saw the 2 little fellows and raised his eyebrows. He patted his round face and praised, not bad, not bad. Master Jun, let's go back to the Chan family to take a look. If there's nothing else, I'll come back to find you. Sima Yue said. No rush. When the time is right, I'll contact you. Junbai replied. That's good too. Sima Yue didn't know what time he was talking about. She guessed that it wouldn't be too long. I heard from Fushi that the principal was with you. I wonder where he is now. Yuan Xiaojia and Feng Rian are at Luoya Palace. You don't have to worry. Junbai said. He thought for a while and added, before you return, the people around you are fine. You don't have to worry. Sima Yue's heart skipped a beat. Before I return, they are fine. Why does this sound a little strange? Alright, let's go. These old bones of mine won't delay your family's reunion. Junbai was afraid that she would ask him about something and said, family's reunion? Sima Yue thought that he meant that he was going back to the Chan family. She only knew the true meaning of his words when they left the inn. Under the big tree opposite the inn, a man in a purple robe with an enchanting face watched the 3 of them come out. Sima Yue was stunned. She smiled and walked over. Why are you here? Have you settled the matters in the Devil Realm? You're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Chronicles YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.